Welcome everyone to this new second year of the Climate Tech Award. We had the first one last year during the COVID session, and now it's live. So we're really, really happy to welcome you. So I'm going to be moderating this whole 2.5 hours. My name is Marie-Michèle VASSILIOU, and I would like to introduce, first of all, Isabelle and Fabrice, who co-worked to make this event happen. So, who wants to start? Fabrice, can you introduce yourself?
Sure,
please?
sure. Welcome to everyone. Very pleased to have you for this second edition for the Climate Tech Awards 2022. Very pleased to have all my co-chairs in remote, and very pleased also to have all the audience from all around the world. So I'm Fabrice Seng, the founder of Climate Tech Venture and also the promoter of the Climate Tech Awards.
They're all here.
Very, very interesting to have this new batch of startups, everyone of the year and everyone of the world. And I let the floor now to my first co-chair of Climate Tech Awards, Isabelle CZERNICHOWSKI-LAURIOL. Please,
yes.
Isabelle.
Hello, everybody all around the world. So I am Isabelle CZERNICHOWSKI-LAURIOL from BRGM, the French Geological Survey. I am a scientist, and I am an international expert on CO2 capture and storage, technology for mitigating climate change. And as you know, the latest IPCC reports say that climate change is unequivocal and that it endangers people and the planet. And all of you all around the world can feel it already and are ready, I'm sure, to take actions. So we all need to mitigate climate change and adapt to it. That's why we organize this event, Climate Tech Award, to encourage startups and innovators to find solutions and to help scale up and deploy those solutions.
Thank you very much, Isabelle. Thank you very much, Fabrice.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So what we did this morning is we had a private, small discussion or big discussion with that person who's incredible. His name is Philipe CROIZON, and we did this special interview this morning just for you. So please, here goes the video. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the second session of the Climate Tech Award. It started last year during COVID, and this year we're doing it again. We've got, once again, a fantastic President of Honor, Philipe CROIZON, who is here for the second year. Let me tell you a little bit about his personal story. He went on a roof, tried to change an antenna, and got hit by lightning. He was 25 years old. He spent 2 years in a hospital, lost his arms and his legs, and he's done since what you would think is not possible. He has made it possible. Let us ask him a little bit about it. Philippe, tell us a little bit about your story.
J'avais un vieux rêve quand je me suis réveillé sur mon lit d'hôpital. J'ai vu une jeune fille traverser la Manche à la nage. Et je me suis dit, un jour, je traverserai la Manche à la nage. Et 14 ans plus tard, après mon accident, j'ai réalisé ce rêve que je dirais 99% des gens disaient « mais c'est pas faisable, tu peux pas faire ça, Philippe ». Et pourtant, il y a 1% qui y a cru, c'est l'équipe et moi. Et on a montré à ces 99% de pessimistes que tout était possible.
So no one wanted to believe him. 99% of people didn't believe in him. But he got inspired by a girl that he saw. She was swimming, right? And nager. So he got inspired by this girl, and he wanted to do the same. And he actually has done so. Tell us a little bit, what have you done first swimming?
Après, en 2012... Ah, pardon.
Donc, tu as traversé la Manche déjà,
oui. 2010.
So he crossed the channel in 2010.
Et en 2012, je ne voulais pas me séparer de mon équipe. Et je pense qu'on pouvait montrer encore d'autres messages très forts, très puissants. Et avec un camarade, Arnaud Chassery, on a relié les 5 continents à la nage. Et on disait que si on réussissait ça, nous tous les deux, on n'était pas si loin les uns des autres. On vit vraiment sur une petite planète et qu'il fallait y faire attention, quoi.
Very nice story. So with Arnaud Chassery, who is a friend of his, he wanted to keep the same team, and they decided to do even more. So they decided to connect the 5 continents. Incredible. Incredible. Another story, bigger. What have you done since again? Une autre histoire que tu veux partager?
Oui, en 2017, j'avais aussi encore un rêve, parce que j'aime bien réaliser mes rêves, j'aime bien atteindre mes objectifs. Et j'avais un rêve d'être pilote sur le rallye raid le plus dur du monde, le Dakar. Et j'ai été pilote en 2017 et on a été au bout. On a fini 48e. Et encore une fois, montrer une fois que tout est possible. Avec une bonne équipe, on peut aller très très loin.
2017, he did the Paris-Dakar, which is something, you know, you drive the cars, which is really difficult. And he did it with a car. He was 48, so he went all the way till the end. And he used a car which was with gasoline. But Philippe, gasoline is not very good for the climate, right?
Non, pas bon du tout. Et c'est vrai qu'on me l'a beaucoup reproché parce que je voulais mener cette aventure. Et j'ai toujours dit que je reviendrai, mais avec un véhicule propre. Et depuis 2017, on y travaille, on y réfléchit. Et aujourd'hui, c'est possible. Aujourd'hui, la technologie est là. Aujourd'hui, les ingénieurs ont travaillé. Donc, en 2024, je serai de retour sur le rallye raid le plus dur du monde avec un véhicule hydrogène.
So, he said he would be back, and guess what? He is going to be back in 2024 with a car with hydrogen. So, let's see what's going to happen. Indeed, the technology is ready, so he's going to do it.
Yes, et puis tout le bivouac sera aussi propre. On aura des panneaux solaires, des groupes électrogènes, hydrogène. Enfin, on recrachera de l'eau dans le désert. C'est génial, non?
Is that possible? So they're going to use a lot of clean tech, which is really nice. And this is why he's the president of Honor, because he inspires. He shows that anything that you would think is impossible is possible. And with a lot of new technology, which are cleaner, we can make it happen. He can make it happen. So I think this is why you're going to get an award. Isabelle?
Philippe, we are very pleased to give you this Climate Tech Award to you and your family, including your mother, who is with us today. So you inspire us. You have a lot of energy and vitality. You are a helper, a coach, and a mentor for many of us. You show us that everything is possible, so we are confident that we can mitigate climate change if we act all collectively. So thank you so much, Philippe.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
A little word, do you want to add?
Yes, sure. Very, very pleased to have you again as an honorary president of the second edition of Climate Tech Awards. Very pleased as well to inspire, to keep the line, to push the frontier even higher. And now with your new challenge on the hydrogen, first championship hydrogen vehicle on the Dakar 2024, very, very helpful. I hope that this award is going to push your race as far as it should be and to inspire all the climate technologies and startups as well. This award is also for, as Marie-Michèle just said, an award for a team starting from your wife, Susanna. So hello to Susanna. I know that you can't be there today. So a good recovery as well as possible. And this is an award for your family. And very pleased to welcome your mother here. Monique. Thanks, Monique, for doing all the deep job to be there and to make all these things happen with Susanna. Thanks again, what we are inspiring all together.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Merci. Merci pour l'honneur que vous me faites d'être à nouveau le président d'honneur de l'événement. Et voilà, le message que j'avais envie de faire passer avec vous, c'est avec le collectif, on peut vraiment aller très très loin. Toujours le collectif. Le jeu JE n'existe pas. C'est on avance ensemble et on réussit ensemble.
Thank you. So, as Philippe was saying, you can't do as much instead of, if you're all together, you can go further. Family helps. So if you go as a team, you can make it happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. Thank you very much indeed. Thanks.
Well, welcome back to this great event. So you saw the presentation of this morning. And now online, we've got different co-chairs. So you got to introduce to Isabelle. Now, Fabrice, could you introduce the other co-chairs who are right now online from different parts of the world?
Sure, sure. And I'm very pleased to start with my co-chair, just my neighbor today, Tom Middendorp. Tom is a great person who now turned from the defense career to the climate change. And I do believe that all...
Don't give out what we're going to talk about. move on with the next co-chairs. Don't say anything.
Sure. So very pleased, Tom, to welcome you.
Thank you, Fabrice.
You're welcome. Now, just welcome with by duplex and remote, Pradeep Monga. Pradeep, the floor is yours just to have a smart introduction.
Hello everyone, I am Pradeep Monga. I am former Deputy Executive Secretary, UNCCD, and before that I worked as Director, Energy and Climate Change at UNIDO, United Nations Industrial Development Organization, and of course, Chief of Energy Environment Program for UNDP for Asia and India. I'm very happy to be here today and of course looking forward to a very successful Climate Tech Award second session having now in Paris. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pradeep, for being here also. Now, just turn to Andrew Beswick. The floor is yours, Andrew.
Hello, everyone. Delighted to be here. My background is over 20 years in investment banking, and now spending my time focusing, helping smaller companies succeed. And I have a passion within the climate space. Very pleased to be here with my fellow co-chairs.
And now we've got also Sydney Lobo. Pleased to have you also, Sydney.
Hi all to everybody and my co-chairs. This is Sydney from India. I'm speaking from Mumbai. I've been in this space for quite some time, and clean tech is a space that I've been working with. This is the second time that I've been a part of the Climate Tech Awards, and I think we've gone. In 1 year, we've gone a great step ahead, and look forward to a great evening. Thanks, and all the best to all the participants. Thank you.
Thanks, Sydney. Very pleased to have you also. And now turn to the Atlantic, the other side, with Paul Daniel. Very pleased to have you, Paul. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I think I may be the oldest person here because I have 40 years of experience. And my focus has been on innovation and technology, and I'm excited to be part of this adventure. A little about me, I am a collector of perspectives. I connect ideas and solutions. I coach leaders, and I help inspire and guide them toward innovation. Here's to a wonderful 2022 awards, and I'm looking forward to hearing from the rest of our panel.
Yes, thanks all my co-chairs who are there. And now just turn to Marie-Michèle.
Thank you very much. So I would like to just bounce back on what he just said about innovation, how you connect innovation and, all of those, what was the name that he used? I wrote it down, and it was, you'll get back to me, never mind. It was about innovation and being agile. So, Tom, please, Tom Middendorp, you are a retired Chief of Defense of Netherlands. I'm very surprised. What does defense have to do with climate change? Can you please talk about this?
Yeah, those are very unlikely partners, aren't they? But I've been working in the defense sector for 40 years. I've been involved in more than 20 crisis areas. And increasingly in all these areas, I realized that climate change is a driving factor behind many of the crises we face. In Afghanistan, I've seen how water scarcity led to all kinds of internal frictions. In Iraq, I've seen how water has been weaponized by IS. In Somalia, Mali, I've seen how the droughts moved people into despair, created a lot of dissatisfaction, moved them into the hands of extremist organizations and organized crime, but also resulted in migration flows. So it has all kinds of security effects that I'm very concerned about.
Yeah, I can understand seeing the list that you just provided. I also saw that you were the chairman of IMCCS. Can you please tell us what it is?
Yeah, that's a great name, right?
Yeah.
It's the International Military Council on Climate and Security. And these are experts like me. These are military experts who feel in their region how climate change is already impacting their security. And we have experts from more than 40 countries all over the world, which also shows that looking at this professionally, you can bridge gaps all over the world. We have people from all continents. And they share experiences, they share best practices, and that's input for another part of the organization, which is the research institutes. So we have a nucleus of 4 of these institutes, 1 here in Paris, by the way, 1 in Washington, and 2 in the Netherlands. And 18 other research institutes are connected to that. So there's also a network building up there. And the outcome of that we will use to the policymakers, to help the policymakers develop policies on how to deal with climate change from a security perspective.
Yeah, thank you very much, because we can't do it all by ourselves. We need the legal, we need the institutions, and so on and so forth. What would you say are the major challenges that we face today when we talk about climate change?
Yeah, I think we shouldn't see climate change as a sole topic. You should see it in the context of a doubling world population, which means a doubling demand for water, for food, for all kinds of products. And at the same time, we are facing depleting natural resources. So there is an increasing gap between the demand side and the supply side. And how are we going to bridge that gap? And climate change kind of aggravates that problem. And I think this is the biggest question of this century. How are we going to solve that? How are we going to sustain a doubling world population? And one thing is for sure, we cannot sustain it in the same way we are producing now.
I agree, and we're already seeing it in France. We're kind of expecting shortages of energy and so on and so forth. We also know, population is going like this, resources are going like this, climate change. So what solutions can we bring forward? Do you have any that you would share with us?
Well, the only thing that makes sense to me is that we start developing ways of producing that have a lesser need for natural resources, which means that we need to innovate in circularity, what the whole Climate Tech Awards are about. We need the new startups, we need the brilliant ideas to come to very new solutions. We need to move away from the industrial age towards an age of sustainability, an age of circularity. We need new champions, and we need to stimulate that, and we need to move fast, because if we don't, this growing gap between demand and supply will only result in more competition and in more people becoming very desperate, in more friction and conflicts.
Is that the only one that you would suggest? Do you have any others that you would like to put forward?
Yes, I think there is much more we can do. If we start moving on innovation, on circularity, I think the role of the governments will be to create new champions in that, to create champions in sustainability, to depoliticize the subject. I'm still very concerned about how we are divided on the topic. It's still kind of a left-wing topic, climate change, while it's a problem that concerns all of it. And I come from the security sector, so people were very surprised when I started talking about this. We need to depoliticize this. We need to give full momentum to developing new solutions. And the government can facilitate this, can enable the development of these solutions by new regulations, by all kinds of incentives that they can build in.
In France, we have someone who is called Guillaume Gallo, who came out with a law about anti-waste. And there's much to do. It's not only about anti-waste, it's also about how do we do with the upcycling? How do we put things back into the supply chain? That's really, really important. And governments need to help us and give, awards. That's what is being done with the climate change. So would you like to say something more? I had another question. Yeah, you mentioned the governments, and so you were... There's solutions that can come from the governments. Is there anything that we can do as in the private sector?
Yeah, absolutely. The governments need to realize that this is not just an environmental issue. So this is an issue for all departments in the government. This is a whole of government issue needing a much wider approach. So you cannot leave this to one climate minister. He will not be able to solve this. The whole government needs to deal with this. And that is what the government should pick up. But at the same time, they depend upon the new ideas, the new innovations from the private sector. And private sectors are the forefront fighters for us. They need to come up with these solutions, which means that they need to refocus their research and development, focusing on this circularity, on this reusability of materials and components. And they should open their supply chains more to the young innovators, the new startups that bring the bright ideas. So we need to be more open-minded. And also the private sector needs to realize that if they don't move on climate change, their whole value chain will be affected. from the availability of resources to the safety of their supply lines to the way they produce and the products they make. They need to become more circular. So they will have to go through an enormous transition. And those companies that move first will future-proof themselves first and will secure their own future first. So I can only stimulate them to move on.
Thank you very much. Fabrice, you always have plenty of ideas. Would you have another question?
Yes, sure. Let's back to the private sector. What about the citizen? What is the key role they could play? You can play a role by a private player or to be in institution or public decision makers, but the citizens, what is your call to action for them? Global citizen.
Yeah. Well, the citizen often think climate change is too big for me. What can I do about climate change? This is such an enormous issue and I'm this small, so what can I do? Well, I think if we all make an effort within our own space, within the own area of influence that we have, beginning in your own homes, beginning in your own behavior, realize what kind of impact the things you buy have on the climate, that already helps. And if billions of people start doing this, it will create an enormous movement. So don't underestimate the power you have. But also we need the bright ideas from the individuals. I'm supporting an innovation who are extracting water from desert air. A very innovative solution with very limited power, they do that. And that comes from one artist. An artist who had a brilliant idea and who followed up on that idea. And he can be a game changer worldwide. So one individual can have an enormous impact. And we should firmly believe in that, in our ability to survive, but also our ability to innovate. And we can all contribute to that. We all have a piece of the solution in our hands. So let's fit them together and paint the whole picture together.
How about giving the name of that fantastic person?
That's Ab Verheggen. It's a Dutch name.
Okay.
And he was in the Dubai at the World Expo.
Okay.
And there he created, with his device, he delivered 1,000 liters of water per day just on solar panels, on solar energy. Yeah.
These are the kinds of startups that we can help with such an event.
Exactly.
I think this is really important, what you are putting together.
And the good news is it's very cheap technology. So we are now looking at how to take it in production. And then you can use it all over these fragile countries in Northern Africa, Middle East, and make these villages more self-supporting, and thereby avoiding them from having to move away.
Isabelle, do you have a question for Tom as well?
No, I am impressed by all you said. So true what all you are saying, and I think all of us can have a role in our private life and also in our professional lives. It's very important that we all join efforts to move, as you say.
Because altogether we're much stronger, that's for sure. We have in duplex, we've got Sydney Lobo. Sydney, so do you want to, so you introduced yourself as well, and you were talking about innovation. Do you want to let us know a little bit more about this?
As a jury member, yes. Sydney as the chief of jury for the Climate Tech Awards. Just to introduce probably the type of cohort that we have for the 2022. So yes, let's have the floor, Sydney.
The floor is yours, Sydney.
All right, thank you very much. I think first and foremost, I should congratulate and thank for all the participants who have applied for these awards. And secondly, I'd like to also, as the chair of the jury, I'd like to thank my colleagues, the co-jury members who have spent time in looking at the applicants and analyzing them. Now, this year, I think also the Climate Tech Awards is the only award which has a jury and then which also has a public vote. So I think this is the only one, and it's a unique thing. Now, in the overall categories, I mean, they were broken down into 8 different categories, some into circularity, some into agriculture, some into data, and some into finance. Now, the jury has experts from different areas, and we've evaluated them. Now, there are some categories which we could not shortlist some of the applicants. Now, it wasn't because there was nothing there. It was mainly because of some administrative issues. wherein the applications were not complete or the data was not provided, as a result of which we had to kind of close or not close. We couldn't select anyone or shortlist anyone in those categories. So I thank my co-chairs for spending time, and also all those who couldn't make the categories or couldn't make the applications complete. There's always next year, and the earlier we can polish, and since we already have done it this year, you can prepare yourselves and look forward to a much bigger cohort of applicants in the years to come.
Okay. Eric? Well, thank you very much, Sydney. This is really highlighting all the different things we can do with innovation, public sector, private sector. Do you want to add a little bit more?
No, I
call to action.
I don't envy the role of the jury, because I have seen the many great introductions, and it wasn't an easy task to do. So my compliments to Sydney and the whole jury for the work they did.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, and indeed, very interesting. And it was. And by the way, all of you who are watching this live stream, you can vote. So you can vote directly. Is it still time to vote, or are the votes closed?
The vote still running, but we are going to close very fast. So just to consolidate everything.
Okay, so now
a last call to action.
Last call to action. You can still win. So stay tuned for the next category 1. What is it called? Selections, and then afterwards the awards. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. So, Isabelle, do you want to come back? I made you leave, but you can come back. She'll come back. It doesn't matter. We're live stream, and this is what happens when we're doing this. So welcome again, everyone. So here we've got category 1, because we're moving on to this.
Yes, yeah? yes.
Okay, so now we've got category 1. Category 1 of this great Climate Tech Award 2022. Category 1 is about energies, mixed and low carbon industries, including CCS, CCUS technologies.
Exactly. Indeed.
Indeed. Do you want to talk a little bit more about it, Fabrice?
I prefer to let the floor.
Okay, you have the floor.
Yes,
Tell us more about it.
The category will be introduced by my General Director, Christophe Poinssot, from BRGM, the French Geological Survey. So it will introduce the subject and how the subsurface can contribute to all of this.
Fantastic. So I guess now we have Christophe Poinssot, who will be talking a little bit more about the category 1. The floor is yours.
Dear colleague, it's my great pleasure to have the chance to give you this introduction lecture. I want first to apologize for not being on the scene with my other colleagues, but I'm fortunately traveling right now in French Guiana. But it's my pleasure to have the chance to give you this introduction lecture regarding the key question of the low carbon technologies and energy mix for the future, which is a critical question. In fact, as all of you know, we are celebrating right now the anniversary of the Paris Agreement and the engagement, the commitment which has been taken by many countries for overcoming the global climate change. And the key question for the global climate change is reducing the greenhouse gases emissions, among which the carbon dioxide. And very significant part of this carbon dioxide, it's directly related to the energy, which is right now dominated by the fossil energies, namely coal, oil and gas, which are together representing in the range of 80 to 85%. So it's a very huge revolution that we have to promote in order to reduce from this 85% down to almost nothing. And therefore, we have a very significant task and challenge, which is to develop the new types of technology which are able to replace this former energy and producing the same kind of usage. And as you know, we have different types of solutions which are available and which are possible and that we need also to still develop. I'm thinking, of course, to the renewable energies, which has part of the solutions, but which can't alone be allowed to solve the question and the problem we have to face. I'm also thinking to the nuclear energy, which has to be part of the solutions. And I'm also thinking about all these system technologies which are needed around. So just to give you some kind of a few messages regarding these questions. So first, regarding the renewables technologies, I guess you all realize that they are very powerful regarding their capacity to produce low carbon dioxide electricity, but at the same time, they have a very significant drawbacks, which is the fact that they are they are intermittent in the sense that they are not able to produce all the time, and therefore it means that when there is no sun or no wind, we have to find new other solutions in order to overcome this kind of situation. And so it means that there is a very significant need for developing storage technologies for the electricity, which is a topic on which there is research for probably more than 1 century. So it's not new questions at all, but there have been very significant development regarding new batteries in the last decades, but it's still not enough. And I'm hopefully I hope that we will be able to develop more denser batteries in the future in order to be able to have the capacity to store more electricity. It also relates this technology to the need for having grids in order to be able to transfer the electricity from where they are produced. It means basically where the wind and the sun is present to where they need to be consumed, either for the citizens or for the industry or whatever. And therefore, it's a huge task to be able to equilibrate, to balance at any time of the day the production and the consumption. And therefore, there is a lot of need for developing the so-called smart grids, so based probably on IA and over a new type of technologies. And once again, it's a very significant room for innovation. But low carbon technologies, it's not only the solar panels and the windmills. We can also think about the geothermy, which is something which is slightly used right now, but there is a huge potential in particular for the heating and cooling of the lodging. And I'm hope that we will be able to develop this type of technology, because I'm quite sure they have the potential to reduce very significantly the carbon dioxide emissions. And we demonstrate in France that they can really be deployed in many type of situation, many type of environment, and they can be a very powerful solutions for reducing our greenhouse gases emissions. But renewables technology is not the only solutions, as you know. We are also to think on the deployment of new types of nuclear technologies. I mean, not only technologies able to produce electricity, and for this we have already more than 50 years of experience, powerful, successful experience in many countries. France is a good example. And so we have to think about the renewal of the fleet, to the extension of the reactors, and development of new type of reactors. But I want also to stress that there is a room for overuse of nuclear technologies, and we can see in other countries like United States, which is a very good example, but we have same type of development in other countries like China, UK, France, and so on, with the potential of the SMRs, the small modular reactors, which can be used not only for produce electricity, but also for many other usage, including the production of heat for the industry, including the production of hydrogen, hydrogen for a new type of mobility, for instance, including also the development of desalination technologies and so on. So this SMR can be something very powerful for the future, for extending and developing new type of application for the nuclear technologies. I want also to say that producing and consuming energy is not the only solutions in order to reduce the greenhouse gases emissions. And we have also probably to think about how we can develop and extend the sink for carbon dioxide, and the capture and storage of CO2 is probably also something which needs to be developed, not for any type of emissions, because when we can reduce the emissions, we have to do the job. But some of the emissions will probably never be able to be reduced. And for this type of ultimate emissions, I would say, CCS, so carbon capture and storage, is probably a very powerful solution that we need to develop and implement. And the technology is probably right now mature enough to be industrially deployed. We need to some technological demonstrator, and therefore we need also to industry to take that in charge. But there is still room for improvement in terms of efficiency, in terms of safety, and innovation, as it's a very important place to play. As a final message, I just want to stress very important message for me. I mean, we see that we have to develop new technologies in many areas. And this new technology, this innovative technology, will only address a very small part of the problem, but it's normal. What is very important is we need, even for each of these technologies, to develop a global picture, a global understanding, to ensure that when they will be deployed in the energy mix in the system, they will really allow a reduction of the carbon dioxide emissions. Because in many cases, this new technology will not be enough alone. And we will need some additional technologies around, like the smart grid, like the storage, and so on. And it's the effect of the global system which need to be addressed. So I just want to encourage each of you to have a global, holistic approach in order to allow the world to overcome these very critical questions of mitigating the global climate change. And there is a very good example of this type of global picture, which is the question of the critical raw materials. Developing renewables technology is very important. Everybody is convinced, but they require a very significant amount of critical raw materials in order to build the infrastructure. And therefore, we anticipate right now a huge increase of this type of materials to be extracted from the ground. And it therefore means that we need to really be careful first to develop some kind of eco-conception for this type of technology in order to ensure that we will be able to recycle as much as possible of these end-of-life products, and to reduce the amount of materials which need to be extracted from the ground. It will never be reduced down to zero because of the increase, in fact, of this type of technology. But we need to ensure that we will really develop the circular economy, which has to be the basis for the development of the future society we want to build. So I'm not going to take much more time. I want to leave the floor to the people that's going to present their innovation and their technologies. They are probably contributing very significantly to the development of this low carbon society that we all want to promote. And I just encourage each of them to still be involved in this overall challenge, and to still contribute, therefore, to develop a low carbon world. So thank you very much, all of you, for being there. Thank you for all the contributors. And I still, once again, apologize for not being with you. Bye-bye.
Yes, thank you very much. So, Christophe, you gave a lot of examples. I love it. You talked about artificial intelligence. You talked about nuclear and everything, and sustainability, innovation. That's a key word as well. So thank you very, very much. So now more ideas, what we can do for climate change. So now we're going to switch to another person's name, Pascal Canfin. Pascal, are you there?
I'm there.
Yes, thank you very much. So Pascal Canfin is a member of EU Parliament, and I was told that you are in the top 3 policy maker for climate. That already top 3, that impresses me, to be honest. The only thing is, what do you do, or how much do you do, or how do you do it? And not only this, how can we help you? So if you could start by explaining a little bit why the top 3 and what you've done, please.
Thank you. So the top three is a ranking by Politico, Europe, and as the chair of the European Parliament Environment Committee, I'm rather active on a lot of text of the Green Deal, so that's why I have the privilege to be in the top three. What I would say in terms of substance now is that with the Green Deal, we are changing in Europe more than 50 laws, European laws, at the same time. When I say at the same time, it's between 2020 up to 2024. So a limited amount of time in terms of a political life, where we are changing almost all the rules of the game. First, climate law that enshrine climate neutrality target as a legally binding objective for the EU and for the member states. So climate neutrality 2050. Second, doubling the renewable power in Europe compared from now to 2030. We are now at 22% on average at the EU level. We want to move at 45% in 2030. That's why we change also the rules for the permitting to speed up the deployment of renewables everywhere in Europe. Third, we change the rules for the industry, where we are now in the process of finalizing this weekend the negotiation of the carbon market for the EU. It's a package of 500 billion euros, where we will redesign the rules for our industries, and we will put a significant carbon price around 80 to 100 euros per ton that would drive decarbonization of our industry. At the same time, we are putting, and we finally negotiated this 2 days ago, maybe you have seen that, a carbon border adjustment mechanism. It's a global first, where we change the rules of the trade in order precisely to have carbon in. So I just gave you 5 examples here out of 50, but it gives you a flavor of the magnitude of the EU Green Deal.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, now I'm convinced that you're really doing something. You mentioned the Green Deal. And you said, oh, yes. Can you elaborate on that, Tom, please?
Well, I would like to compliment Pascal on the Green Deal. I think we are leading the way in the world, how we are dealing with climate change now. And what I like about it is that you not only set new targets, but you also translate that into all kinds of regulations and laws, etc., forcing everybody to move in the right direction. And I think there are no other regions in the world where that is happening to this extent that you are doing it. So a great compliment for you. My question is, how can we further mainstream this in the wider European arena? Because you look at it very from mitigation eyes, reducing the CO2 footprint. But how can we also look at the adaptation side and the other sides of climate change and mainstream that as well, also in the External Action Service and the other services within the EU?
Well,
okay, well, sorry, maybe one word, because I know that we don't have that much time. One word on the external dimension of the Green Deal, if I may, more than on adaptation, sorry for that, because I think it's very important. We are now putting in place a certain number of new rules that will have an impact outside the EU. I take 2 examples out of many. First, deforestation. Last week, we adopted the first ever law on against imported deforestation, where we said no commodities with a wide scope of commodities can enter the EU if they cannot demonstrate through satellite pictures that they are not deforestation free. I know that the US now is also looking at it. Second, CBAM, Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism. I was just alluding to that. We know it's also a discussion that is ongoing in the US. It's in the Biden platform. Of course, it's more targeting China, if I may say so. But the idea is to say, well, we cannot put real climate regulation in place, whether we are in the EU or in the US, if we cannot at the same time ensure that there is a level playing field for our industries and for our jobs. Otherwise, we shoot in our foot and in our own foot, and obviously it does not fly from a political perspective. So that's why it is so important. And my conclusion is, we want to cooperate with the US on this, but there is a big but, that we cannot accept things that are so WTO incompatible than part of IRA. Because part of IRA means that it will be negative also for our own industry, even if they decarbonize. And I think it's very important that we create new rules. That's what we are doing with the Green Deal. But we also create a cooperative mood between the ones, not everybody maybe, but at least the ones that are willing and proactive on the climate action. Otherwise, that might be counterproductive. So it's also a message I wanted to share here.
Okay, thank you very much. So indeed, when we were talking, I was saying Fabrice was going, yeah. So you apparently had a question as well?
Yeah, sure. Thanks very much, Pascal, for being there. And I know that you are indirect from Brussels, so a lot of work to do and to achieve, but also a lot of work already achieved. So congrats all for your work and all your team. My question is, we have to scale up climate technologies. It's about green premium also, the one side, and the other side, we need also much more awareness and recognition of climate technologies, that it means much more marketing, much more communication. On these two pieces of the same coin, how pushing up all the startups up and avoiding at the same time the greenwashing phenomenon. We have to adjust this double effect as well in the same time. What could be?
So you're right. I'm going to give you two examples here. First, we definitely speed up the financing for green technologies. Whether you are whatever the size of the companies are, we want to finance more innovation. That's why we will have additional money for the Innovation Fund of the European Trade Scheme for industries. That's why we have 37% of the recovery plan of 2020, and it's now being spent now. I mean, it was decided in 2020, but it's still being spent. That is directly allocated to climate action and climate investment. And this has been assessed and ranked by the UN as the second greenest recovery plan globally. So we are also, of course, putting additional money on the table. On the second element, we will have in the first quarter of next year a regulation among these 50 Green Deal regulation, as I was referring to at the beginning, a regulation concerning green claims. So exactly the greenwashing element, where a company can say, oh, I'm carbon neutral, even if it's not true, or this is good for climate, even if it's not true, and so on and so on and so on. So there will be a specific regulation against greenwashing in terms of marketing and advertising for beginning of next year.
Okay. I wanted to stop you at one point, and you keep on saying very interesting things, and I'm like, more and more and more. But it seems like there's a lot of things that we can all do, and that indeed it's being helped by regulation. And thank you so very much. And the fact that, you know, it's Europe and that there's things that could be, you know, connected to the rest of the world, and that's great. But you are right. We need to make sure that we all agree for the same planet. And some are not going and leading in the same way. And we all need to, you know, try to find common understanding, right? Yeah, exactly. That would be lovely, everyone. If we could all go towards the same direction for our planet, that would be tremendously a big change. Yeah. Right? Did you want to add something, Isabelle?
No, it's
no?
great.
Good? All right. Well, thank you very, very much. That was lovely. Keep on going. And you know what? Instead of being in top 3, I think you can push it to be in top 1. That would be lovely. You're doing already a great job. So thank you. So now we're going to move on to Victor. Yeah, Victor Liger. Yeah, so if you want to take over.
Yes, sure. Very pleased to have you, Victor, representing the head of innovation of the BRGM. And I just let you the floor to introduce yourself, Victor.
So, hello everyone, I'm Victor Liger, I'm innovation of BRGM, so the French Geological Survey, and my role is to support innovation development that comes both from the inside and outside of the institution.
So, Victor, just to move forward in that direction, what innovation means for BRGM? What is the culture of innovation in the institution?
So, our culture is mostly to go across borders. BRGM is an applied research institution, and applied means that one of our main roles is to be a bridge between worlds, between fundamental research and the socio-economic world, between science and innovation. So we're here to ensure that new concepts and scientific foundations, which make it possible to face the challenge of a sustainable Earth, are brought to maturity and can directly provide solutions to the planet and to the people who live on it.
Yes, thanks for connecting the innovation and, in fact, the societal expectations. Now, turn, because we are in the Climate Tech Awards, just turn with the connection from innovation to entrepreneurship. What is the culture of entrepreneurship or the spin-off culture at the BRGM?
Yes, we have a really precious resource inside the institution. That's all the ideas and all the scientific production of our researchers. And we have a maturation process to support the evolution of innovative concepts from their birth in the researcher's head until they are transferred into the economic world. And once again, our goal is to facilitate access to the solution. So we are more in a logic of transfer. How can we transfer this concept into concrete innovation? And it can take different shapes. It can be a transfer to an industrial partner, transfer to a startup, and also creation of a spin-off of a new company that the researcher or someone else can manage after that. So our innovation culture is really to be open and to always try to choose the best mode of dissemination of the innovation in order to have the greatest impact.
And the last but not least, in 30 seconds, Victor, what is the call to action to climate entrepreneurs to join or to work with BRGM?
So 30 seconds, okay. The collaboration with startups and entrepreneurs is quite new for the BRGM, but we are here to provide knowledge, expertise, and capabilities that entrepreneurs or startups cannot have alone. And we are really in a partnership model where we build innovation together. So you can come and work with us and share things in order to have great innovation, great impact.
Okay, thanks, Victor, and hope that next time you will be with us physically in the studio TV. So very fine to have you. And I'll let the floor now to Marie-Michèle.
Well, this was great. This is how you see how regulations and law and defense, all of this can be great opportunities to launch startups, all for the benefit of climate change, because we have a role to play. And the ones who are putting all of this in action are startups. So we are actually in the startup category 1 that I would like to remind you, which is energies mixed and low carbon industries. So thank you very, very much for everything that you do, which then facilitates for startups. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, all of the people who have spoken. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, welcome. welcome back. So now we've got, you know, startups that we're going to introduce to you, and then the goal is to know who are the happy winners of category 1. So we've got 3 startups who are here. Farm to Flame.
By remote.
By remote. Do we see it on remote? Yes. Where are they? Can you? They're not right now, so it's going to be a secret. They will have to find out later on anyway. Then we've got Leviathan Dynamics.
Exactly.
It's Leviathan Dynamics in English, yep.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Leviathan Dynamics.
In French, it would be perfect.
So now you've got 2 versions,
Yes.
the French and the English.
Yep.
And now you've got the Niveau Up, and this is in English as well. I double-checked. How do you pronounce it? Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, thank you. So, Fabrice,
yes.
Do you want to introduce everyone, or do you want them to introduce themselves? Do you want to introduce yourself, starting
sure,
with you?
With pleasure. So my name is Nominees. I'm the CEO of Leviathan Dynamics. Leviathan Dynamics is an industrial deep tech. We are located in La Courneuve, near to Paris.
Thank you very much. So now we've got Florian Clou.
Yes, so I'm Florian Clou, business representative for Niveau Up, a startup based in the US and in Taiwan, who provides batteries for hybrid electric vehicles and electric vehicles.
Okay, thank you very much. So I would like to have one question, very simple for each one of you, is, you know what? Why did you candidate for the Climate Change Award if you were to answer?
Climate Tech Awards.
Climate Tech Awards. So many things to change in the life. Go ahead.
So first of all, it's important, I think, to understand the different blind spots that are surrounding the climate change. We need to be having a system change, and this is why Leviathan Dynamics is creating new solutions, new innovations in order to be tackling some of the topics related to heating, cooling, and fighting the greenhouse gases.
Okay, thank you very much. It's a French company, isn't it?
Yes, we are located in La Courneuve, near to Paris. We are a team of 10 today, and we have been selected by Time for the Planet in order to be one of the first innovative companies in France to be fighting the greenhouse gases.
Thank you. And Niveau Up? French? No?
Yes, so...
French company?
It's a startup based in the US and in Taiwan.
Oh, okay.
So why applying for the Climate Tech Award? For the simple reason that we do believe that we need to promote and educate people for electric vehicles and hybrid vehicle usage, and as for us, to embed our batteries inside for a more sustainable way of traveling.
Interesting. Thank you very much. Fabrice, you had plenty of questions for both of them.
Just one.
One question.
Just one question.
Go ahead.
Within the 2 key questions, why have you candidate, and what is your call to action?
Yep.
Celebrating the 7th anniversary of the Paris Agreement?
Yep. So my call to action is the following. I think the statu quo is the real competition. So we need to be stop fooling ourselves by illusions and act. And the call to action is to fight the climate change by a system change. And this system change needs to have collaboration, needs to have justice, and needs to have boldness. And for this, we need to be collaborating with an extended ecosystem. So for us, Leviathan Dynamics is very important to be working with others in order to be successful.
Okay, thank you.
For your comment.
As for us, let's say that it is quite complicated today when we talk about the usage of the cars. And one of the main points would be to accompany people toward more sustainable way of traveling, for the simple reason that if we take the figures in France, for example, 23% of the greenhouse emission are for a private usage of cars. And we do believe that there is a collective effort to be made from citizens in the first place to get to know more about this more sustainable way of traveling, but as well as from the government perspective to educate and communicate to people about how to use it, why to use it, and putting legal frames as well as incentives to use it.
Thank you very much. So now we have 3 startups that candidated, and now the winner is, ta-da! Okay.
So we have consolidate the
numbers
process and the vote, the process for the jury, and we have the result now. And I'll let Isabelle, the first co-chair, introduce.
So the jury had a very difficult choice because all the 3 startups are doing impressive work, impressive innovations. And they have decided to give this award of the category 1, energy mixes and low carbon industries, to Farm to Flame in the US. They are not here, fortunately, but I'm sure that the award will be transmitted to them. And okay, so
I think you deserve a round of applause.
Yeah, I was waiting. Are you done? Yes. So we can give a big round of applause. I would like to congratulate you as well because you've been selected. So that's already a big thing. So, you know, it's. Would you like to give a key word, not about who won, but about what you're going to do for the climate change tomorrow, starting tomorrow?
Yeah, we are already acting, as I said. By the way, we delivered our last machine this morning at 5:30 this morning.
This morning.
It is going to be shipped to Ariane Espace in French Guiana, and it's going to be starting early next year, producing clean and cooling using water as a refrigerant. So we are very happy, and I would like to thank all my wonderful team at the Python Dynamics that worked very hard in order to make it happen.
And we always need a great team in a startup because they're the ones who make it happen. And each time there's an award, it makes a big difference for startups. How about you? What would be your key?
We have a battery that is a life expectancy 3 times higher than other ones that charges under 6 minutes instead of 15 for the best actor currently, as well as a better dendrite resistance. So our main point is to be able to manufacture on a scalable level the batteries that we have, because as we discussed a bit earlier, it is always nice to have an invention in the laboratory, but the point is to how to industrialize it for mass production, to everyone being able to beneficiate to this kind of technology to improve the world.
I agree. Thank you. And remember, an innovation is only called an innovation when there's a market attached to it, when there are people who are willing to pay for it. So unless you have something to say, we have a video. Did you have something to add? Go ahead.
Yes, very...
Go ahead.
Yes, very directly, just to say thanks to all the applicants and thanks for you two and all the around the world who have applied, because we need all the startup indeed. And there is no competition. If even there is one nominee, we need all of you in practice. So thank you. And
thank you. We can
for
round of applause again.
Thank you for your invitation.
Thank you very much. So we're going to have a video, which is the video from Farm to Flame, the company that won. So here it is.
My name is Kwaku Jemfi, and I am the CEO and co-founder of Farm to Flame Energy. What we do is solve the problem of energy poverty, where 700 million people in the world still don't have access to clean, reliable, and affordable electricity. We're solving this problem by creating generators and distributing these generators that service as replacements to expensive diesel generators, which are currently being used in many use cases for backup electricity. When I was in high school, I actually was in environmental science classes. It was always my passion. I started looking into India and Bangladesh and the Brahmaputra River, which was very polluted. And then I realized I could also use energy as a nexus to water treatment to solve global problems as well. Farm to Flame has an electrical generator that provides baseload power, 24/7 power. We can provide this as backup power when there's grid failure or for remote places that are not connected to the grid, and we can also meter back to the grid in order to provide demand response, and even in combination with solar and biomass, we could provide a low-cost renewable energy solution. Traditionally, with biomass, people burn wood chips. Wood chips are just easy enough to burn in a boiler and generate electricity, but the problem is a lot of ash is produced, which means there's a lot of maintenance needed on the generator and a lot of downtime. So with our generators at scale, we'll save over $100 million per year in maintenance costs. by using the patented combustion process we have, which completely combusts the fuel so that there's no smoke, no odor, and very minimal ash. This project is essentially going to help us install over 300 kilowatts of these generators, which equates to 10 of the current generators that we have.
The Farm to Flame Energy team is doing something so important for the transition to clean and affordable energy. Their technology and their solution will help millions of people have access to clean energy, and that is why I supported them. And not only do I believe in their technology and their products, but I believe in their team, their vision, and their ability to execute.
We've received funding from multiple sources. So far, it's been about 1.9 million. We actually just signed a collaboration letter with Georgia Pacific, who produces 10% of the United States woody biomass electricity. Our solution is something that they're looking to implement in their manufacturing warehouses to provide electricity for off-grid use, to be able to help people who are in energy poverty and others who have not had access to the resources we have in America. The fact that people see that from all across the board, it helps a lot.
Well, welcome back. So we had the winners of that first #1 category. And now we've got more categories. Remember, there's 8 categories altogether. So now we're category 2. Category number 2 is agri-food for sustainable biodiversity and land use. But before we say more, we will have Fabrice introduce someone.
Yes,
go ahead.
Sure. I would like to introduce one of my co-chairs, Pradeep Monga, who is a former deputy executive of UNCCD and the former director at UNIDO. Very, very pleased to welcome you, Pradeep, again, and hopefully on stage with us for the next year. And I let you the floor. Pradeep, this is you.
Thank you, Fabrice. Thank you, Marie-Michèle, and of course, dear colleagues,
Augustin,
dear co-chairs. I'm very happy to introduce this category 2 category focusing on agri-food for sustainable biodiversity and land use. Let me refer to the opening remarks of Tom just a while ago, where he mentioned about climate change emergency has to be seen in the context of doubling the population and, of course, diminishing of natural resources. And that is very true when we talk about food security of this doubling the population, which will cross 9 billion mark very soon in near future. And when we talk about it, agri-food and value chains becomes very important pathways to achieve climate resilience, biodiversity conservation, and of course, land restoration. Let me try to give you some figures now. For instance, 80% of deforestation directly attributable to agriculture, a sector that represents 22% of greenhouse gas emissions. And of course, if I combine agriculture with land use and land use changes, this mark of greenhouse gas emissions will cross 30%. So hence, sustainability of agri-food value chain becomes very relevant, including, of course, regenerative agriculture for achieving climate resilience, biodiversity conservation, and land restoration. On the land use side and land use changes, as we speak, 1/4 of world's land is already degraded, and we are talking about 13 million hectares of fertile land getting degraded due to unsustainable land uses, deforestation, and intensive use of chemicals and fertilizers. And of course, land use changes and land degradation affect between 25% and 30% of all lands on the planet. And of course, over 40% of agriculture lands. And this 13 million hectares, which is getting degraded every year, that is all fertile land, productive land for various known where you are using it. And that's where the land degradation neutrality becomes very relevant to understand. It means whatever projects and programs, including agriculture practices we do, we must introduce to have not only biodiversity conservation, but also a land degradation neutrality, which is one of the SDGs also, where the UNCCD, United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, has been part of that. So hence, promoting sustainable agri-food value chain will not only help climate resilience, but also contribute to food security, water security, green jobs,
raising the income levels of farmers. Of course, on jobs, every 10 hectares of land restored creates 2 jobs. So we are talking about 100 million hectares to get restored, say next between now and 2030. We are talking about 2 million direct jobs coming out. But more importantly, indirect jobs can be almost 20 million plus. Secondly, on the income levels being raised for the farmers, every $1 spent in land restoration can lead to between $5 to $10 of you can say enhancement for the farmers. And that's where, especially for local communities and local farmers, this becomes a huge incentive to really look at that. But then incentive becomes even bigger when we talk about agri-food value chain. I have 3 key messages here when we talk about agri-food, sustainable biodiversity, and of course, land use. First message is, it's time we break silos. Working in UN system for over 30 years, I really always find it amazing that even at the UN level, 3 conventions work separately. Convergence is now happening, and that's a very good sign. But there are different focal points for climate change, different focal points for biodiversity, and different focal points for land. And that becomes a huge challenge at the national level, at the local level, when we want to take the action. It's time to break silos. Second, it's time to take more integrated approaches. When we talk about climate change and we want to really look at agri-food chain, where we're talking about circular economy, we are talking about regenerative agriculture practices, we are talking about more organic farming, carbon farming coming up there. But there, where the agroforestry and others also come into play, we must also look at water and, of course, food security at the same time. We should also talk about other benefits which the local communities can have from on social and, of course, economic side. And that's where I think agri-food linking to sustainable biodiversity and land use becomes very, very relevant. My second message is how to take more integrated approaches, what we call crossing approaches. And that's where we must not only address one issue at a time, we must look at 5, 6, or maybe all SDGs together. And that's where this category becomes very relevant on innovation side. And I believe innovation is the key. We talk about clean tech, about technologies, but I do believe that clean tech also coming to the agriculture, agri-food side becomes very relevant, not only from the technology point of view, but also practices point of view. The greening the deserts or bringing solar land plus programs, or bringing those programs where we generating or producing protein from more modern methods, not only from the agriculture side, that becomes very relevant. And of course, third message is very clear, is how we can promote nature-based solutions. The time has come. We must link at nature-based solutions, regenerative agriculture, and of course, water and food security as the entry point when we talk about innovation and agri-food chain, linking to biodiversity, and of course, land restoration. So let me, congratulate all nominees. We have very good 3 nominees under this category, and I'm sure Fabrice and Marie-Michèle will try to introduce them. I'm very happy to be part of this, co-chair of this category, where I could see a lot of innovations happening, and I'm absolutely hopeful that next year onwards, this category will further bloom and it will affect everyone, right from developing countries to developed world as well, but also the LDCs and small island states. This category will affect all of us have achieving food security and water conservation. Thank you, Fabrice.
Well, thank you very much, Pradeep. And you know, you're from India, and I teach a lot on innovation and jugaad innovation and all of this frugal innovation. And we know that we've gone to a point on the planet where we cannot just keep on using resources, and we've got to do more with less. And so this is really interesting, everything that you have said. So thank you. So now we've got Pierre-Henri Guignard. Did I pronounce it wrong?
Pierre-Henri Guignard.
Guignard, thank you. So I'm being corrected in French, I'm being corrected in English. I love it. Why? Because that means that we are all so concerned about the planet and we want to do it right. So Pierre-Henri Guignard, thank you very much. Well, do you want to introduce yourself and say who you are, please?
Well, at least I can try. Thank you very much. And I'm here, I think, because I'm currently the Special Envoy of France for the Alliance for Conservation of Rainforest. It all started 3 years ago, 2019, when the Amazon region was in flames. France was chairing the G7 at the time, and President Macron decided that we had to pull together in order to try to conserve rainforest, because rainforest is essential for the planet. France is concerned about reaching the goals of the Paris Agreement. It's probably a topic we are going to discuss a little later. And we wanted to build a coalition of forest and non-forest countries in order to work together and avoid those fires and avoid all the drivers for deforestation on the planet. And I was coming back from South America, where I was posted, and I've been a bit familiar with the Amazon River, and I had been in charge of organizing COP21, and President Macron asked me to put together this alliance. And now we are 32 countries strong, plus the European Commission. And Pascal Canfin, a moment ago, presented the initiatives by the European Union. And as a bloc, we are working with our partners all around the world, plus the United Nations agencies that already are committed for this goal in order to try to preserve the forest. It's very complicated. It's very complicated because we have a growing population in the world. We have to feed the population. And if we continue doing it the way we have done forever, it's not going to happen, and we are going to burn the planet. We don't want that to happen. Therefore, we have to find innovative solutions in order to preserve the planet as a whole and the forest in particular.
Yes, the forest, what is it called? The lungs of our nation, the lungs. Without the forest, you know, we can't do anything. And so we've got to protect it. And we hear about this all the time, and we're going to have a special guest towards the end, which I will not talk about, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, special guest.
And the image of the lungs is good and not.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Can you explain this?
Because
the lungs is, you know, where we breathe. So I would have expected, you know, the forest and the lungs, no?
And the ocean.
And the oceans, of course.
So it's the lung is the instrument, but what is the forest is a reserve of carbon in particular,
right?
And more than anything else. And the planet is breathing by a number of ways, in particular with the forest. But actually, we need the forest to be preserved, because if we don't, the carbon that it has stocked for so many years is going to go into the atmosphere. I'm not a scientist, you're noticing it. And will create those greenhouse gases that are going to complicate our climate. So in order to preserve climate, that was the Paris Agreement aspect I mentioned before. And in order to preserve biodiversity, we need to preserve the rainforest. About 80% of the world biodiversity, terrestrial biodiversity, is in the rainforest. So it illustrates the importance of what we are doing with many others in order to preserve the forest. But it's not by saying it that we are going to make the change, it's by acting. And we can't act for those who have the sovereignty of the soil of the forest. So it has to be an international effort in order to convince those who have the responsibility of the forest to do their part of the job, to fight against deforestation, and we are trying to do that. But we can, as Pascal Canfin said before, we can change our ways to consume, our ways to produce, in order to have our input in the conservation of forest.
We can or we can't?
We can.
We can,
and we
yes.
will.
And we should.
And we will. And that's, France has been, allow me to be a bit chauvinistic.
Please
for
be
a
ahead.
second. France has been ahead in this matter, developing a national strategy for fighting against deforestation. which is a committee made of public officers, private sector, NGOs, and all together we are trying to find ways not to use products coming from deforestation. And that has been an inspiration for many others, and in particular the current regulation, the ruling that is put together by the European Union at this time, at the initiative of the Commission, is in part inspired by what we have been doing here in France. I'm very proud about it.
That's good. Doing good actions, you should always be proud and even do more and more about them.
And the interesting part is we are not trying to solve this situation just by adopting laws or rules, but to work with the private sector, to work with the civil society, because it's us, the people, who are going to make the change. And I mentioned before COP21 in 2015, which was the first universal agreement on climate. And it's more committal than sometimes it appears, but it involves very much civil society. It involves very much the private sector. And this is why I think it's going to work. When a few years ago, the US administration, for political reasons, wanted to withdraw from the agreement, it had the liberty to do so, but so many private corporations in the US, so many states in the US decided to remain on the goals of COP21 that I think that we are all together in this fight.
I agree fully, and that's what Fabrice keeps on saying, right?
Yes, sure, and we are very honored to have you, Pierre-Henri, as you have been a key part of the COP21, and we know the story with now the Paris Agreement that everyone knows. I would like to have a smart question.
A smart question. Yes, this is going to be the only smart question before we move on.
Yes. We used to talk about smart cities, and we're going to have a specific category on it. And we know that we are all in an urban civilization. That it means pushing stress on land use, the competition on land use. What could be the out-of-the-box scheme that could enable us from organization and civil society to be much more close to the nature, rather much more close to the urban civilization, reconnecting, in fact, probably to help also all the coalition that you lead and to push forward for the global, all the countries.
And the challenge is to answering in 1 minute.
And to have a smart answer to a smart question.
But you're used to doing smart answers.
More difficult still. Actually, that's why we are working all together. And I would like to give just one example. We have been talking for a few minutes now about preserving rainforest, conservation of rainforest. We haven't talked about what's essential in this goal we have. It's the people who live in the forest, because there are no empty forests. 34 million people live in the Amazon region. Many people are born, work, and die in the African Congo basin, and same thing in Southeast Asia. We don't want to conserve forests without giving these people the possibility to be part of our world community and to work, develop, and have a better life. So how do we conserve the forest, or, to go back to your question, to the whole environment, and at the same time have people to be able to live better in a world which in a way is better than it has always been?
I agree, and thank you. It's a very complicated question, and there's so many things that we could be, saying on the subject. We've got to move on, and when we start with a conversation, this is where it gets complicated because we want to push so much. So we're gonna, and thank you very much once again. So we're gonna move on with the 3 finalists for this category 2, which I remind you is agri-food for sustainable biodiversity and land use. So we've got 3 startups. The first one, I will name them, and afterwards I'll move forward with Benjamin. The first one is C16 Biosciences, which is a US
company. The other one is Send2Green, which is a French company. And the third one is Solar Foods, which is a Finnish company. We will now have Benjamin talk about Send2Green, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. Hi, everyone. So my name is Benjamin. I am one of the co-founders of Send2Green, and what we're doing at Send2Green is we cultivating desert to create agroforestry plantation in desert. We were like hearing our friends from India talking about greening desert. You were talking also about how to feed the growing population, and this is why it is important to cultivate desert. Not only because you regenerate soil, because you avoid deforestation, but also because we use a surface that represents 1/3 of land on Earth. So now you might ask me, okay, so how do you cultivate desert? And to do so, we're using solar desalination and agroforestry model, which is specific for arid environment. So by combining the right plants and trees, we not only restored ecosystem, we produce food, we produce biofuel, and we drink carbon credits. Our agroforestry plantation is not only very profitable, but it has also many impact. And you were talking before about making life of people better. And yes, indeed, social welfare is one of the impact, but we also capture carbon, restore biodiversity, and have many other impacts. And now we're scaling up. After 3 years of R&D and tests in Moroccan desert, we are scaling up with, like we just finished our first fundraising, and we are offering our plantation as green investments.
That's interesting, offering all of this. Yep. How old is that startup?
It's 3 years old now. So first it was like a side project, and we told ourselves, okay, why not cultivating desert? And after 3 years, we not only managed to grow trees in deserts to produce and sell food, but we also succeeded into regenerating our soil, which is really important. And so we decided to scale up and to create a startup and to like replicate the plantation all over desert.
Fantastic. How many people are you?
We currently more than 15 working on the project with like 3 amazing co-founders from France and from Morocco. And so tonight the match is going to be pretty.
Yeah. Did you have any question?
Yes, it's a great time alignment, not only by, I will say, sport and the issue, the climate issue. This is also a great agenda from the climate. We're having the 7th anniversary of the Paris Agreement, but also with the COP15 on the biodiversity. And probably some of the companies who are presented are joining the 2 pieces of this mechanism and this issue. I will let Marie-Michèle.
Yes.
Yes, you're here.
Yes, I'm here.
Great.
Yes, so you want me to announce the winner?
Yes, sure.
And well, guess what? I have no idea because I wasn't told. So this is where I need someone to tell me who. This is maybe where I get the categories?
Exactly.
Yes, I found it. Now they tell me, right? So category 2, let me see first. Let me get ready. Yes, okay. So round of applause. So we've got for category 2, Solar Foods as a winner. Congratulate. We can.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, and congratulations as well to you.
Congratulations for all the candidates, all the startups who have applied.
We need you, definitely, because we need all the startups. We need everybody to work together. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Thank you very much. Very nice.
And yes, Pierre-Henri, you stay with us for the next round and having just some refresh.
Okay.
And yes, keep tuned for the next.
So now we're moving on to category 3. So stay tuned. Welcome back. Hello, everyone. So we are now starting with category number 3. Category number 3 is called Digital, Space, and Climate Finance. We've got a pre-recorded, I believe, video, but we will keep this for later. Why? Because we decided to move on to category
4 and category 4 is all about cities for sustainable buildings and mobilities. So for this, I will introduce Sandrine Damour. So Sandrine Damour, she will introduce herself, very interesting. So now we start with a little jingle. See you soon. Okay, yeah. Right, welcome everyone. So now we've got 2 people who have just joined us. I will be moderating as well with Sandrine Damour, and as well we've got Stéphane Savarez. Did I pronounce it right?
Yes, okay.
Please come closer to us so we're all together. Actually, I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to put myself right here, and you can put yourself right here. Is that good? Do you feel good? Then I'm going to put you even here, if you don't mind. Okay. Then I feel good on my left. Is that good?
Perfect.
We feel good. So welcome everyone again. So we're on that category 4 called Cities for Sustainable Building and Mobilities. Sandrine Damour, do you want to talk a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I speak in French.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Listen everyone, learn how to speak English. It's very important.
Donc, je m'appelle Sandrine Damour, donc je dirige l'entreprise Damour Création qui est située à Genève, active en architecture et en recherche en urbanisme. Donc, pour la petite histoire, voilà, j'ai d'abord évidemment travaillé en bureau d'architecture et puis je cherchais un véritable sens finalement à ma mission. Donc,
I'm going to stop her a little bit once in a while. So okay. Sandrine is an architect. She learned about all of this and was trying to find a sense to her life.
Yes.
So what happened?
So I co-found I co-found the structure in en français, pardon.
You were good in English. Why don't you keep the English?
Non, je vais rester en français parce que sinon je vais switcher.
Then you can look right here.
Je vais switcher.
Go ahead. Okay. Don't worry.
Donc j'ai fondé une structure de recherche en architecture qui m'a mené à un projet qui s'appelle Dérive. Et donc, ce projet m'a amené à voyager au travers de l'Asie, dans 6 pays différents, sur la thématique du lien entre l'homme et son environnement.
Oh, that's very important. So she's traveled in Asia, did at least 6 countries, and she tried and realized that it was very important to try to find the link between human and its environment, and that's really key.
Et donc, j'ai poursuivi par une recherche documentaire et j'ai mené en fait une étude qui a été publiée par le Cresson, donc le Centre de recherche en urbanisme de l'École d'architecture de Grenoble. Et évidemment, la résilience.
She did a research and got published in a very good journal.
Et donc, la résilience, étant donné l'urgence à agir, le bureau travaille actuellement sur des outils concrets d'accélération de la ville vers le développement durable, donc l'implication des citoyens et l'augmentation de la performance des professionnels.
Performance, improving the performance of professionals in terms of what?
À travers un outil logiciel qui permet en fait aux professionnels de créer des quartiers plus durables.
Okay, so she's working on sustainable and areas of a city to make it more sustainable and more resilient, right?
Yes.
Do you agree?
Sure. I would like to ask you, Sandrine, the first question, and very pleased to have you from Genève. You just come here directly.
En français?
Oui. Ravi de t'accueillir, Sandrine, et je sais que tu viens directement de Genève sur ce spécial événement pour le 7e anniversaire de l'accord de Paris. La première question que je voudrais te poser, c'est quelle est la définition pour toi d'une smart city ou d'une sustainable city? What is the definition for you, Sandrine, of what is a smart city and what is a sustainable city?
Donc finalement, la ville résiliente s'intéresse davantage à ce qui est construit, les aménagements urbains qui sont effectivement construits en surface, en sous-sol. Et finalement, la résilience, c'est sa capacité finalement à absorber toute perturbation, y compris bien évidemment celle du climat. Peut-être que tu veux traduire?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I was listening to all of this. So she's what is it called? She's working on everything, trying to work on all the aspects of sustainability and how you can make it more resilient and more sustainable.
Yes.
Yeah. And I interrupt you because I didn't translate one part of it. Did you create your own company?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I didn't say at the beginning. Can you remind me the name?
D'Amour Création.
D'Amour Création, just in case d'amour is by love. So d'amour,
it's even family name.
Yeah, it's her family name, but still it's the same company name. Yeah, very nice.
And finalement, la Smart City, la ville intelligente, traditionnellement, c'est la ville connectée. C'est comment en fait les nouvelles technologies de l'information peuvent optimiser les services urbains, donc les réseaux de transport, énergie, etc. Et en fait, la Smart City a de nombreuses définitions aujourd'hui en fonction des acteurs. Et généralement, il en fait, donne des axes de gestion de la ville et la bonne place en fait, de l'utilisation des technologies.
So in terms of smart cities, you have to know that there's going to be 72% of people in 2050 who are going to live in cities. So we've got to deal with this. So a lot of things which are related to smart cities are very often related to technology issues. How do we use everybody's data to optimize traffic, to optimize energy? You know, when you walk, transportation, or when you walk, the lights turn off or switch off the heat, for instance. So, but it's essentially technology.
Yes.
Yes, one more probably question for you, Sandrine. Une question complémentaire pour toi, Sandrine. À part, je dirais, les concepts de Smart City et de Sustainable City, comment tu vois une nouvelle organisation de la ville se développer, sachant que les villes sont ancrées dans des territoires très divers et le concept de Sustainable City peut prendre finalement des natures très diverses. Qu'est-ce qu'une Sustainable City et dans ces différents territoires, est-ce qu'il y a une ou plusieurs définitions de Sustainable City? As there is many territories and all metropole, megapole or cities around the world are connected in different type of lands, we need to know what type of sustainable cities we have to deploy. Probably they will not have one just single definition of what is a sustainable city.
Eh bien, en fait, j'ai en fait développé, je présente en conférence une vision prospective de la ville durable qui s'appuie en fait sur une visualisation en fait d'une ville future qui s'appuie sur 4 principes de résilience. L'idée, c'est de montrer que la forme urbaine peut mettre en synergie des principes de résilience pour être plus efficiente. C'est-à-dire qu'elle peut, en fait, résoudre plusieurs problèmes en même temps.
So, hold on. So, based on everything that she's been, I apologize, talking about, what she's done is she's developed some kind of software to optimize the sustainability. No?
C'est pas vraiment une...
It's not a software? Make it clear before we...
Là, c'est vraiment une 3D qui montre...
So, it's a 3D representation?
Oui, la forme urbaine peut synthétiser plusieurs principes de résilience pour être plus efficiente.
Okay, so by using 3D representation, it's like how can you, represent a better sustainable city? Good?
Oui.
All right.
Et donc, ces 4 principes de résilience...
4 principles.
Sont l'usage de la verticalité. On doit, comme tu le disais, effectivement, loger plus de personnes en ville. Plus de 50% en ville de population vivront en ville en 2050. Donc, il faut loger plus de gens. Donc, l'usage de la verticalité le permet.
So, number 1 is like using verticals where you're going to put more people, but using better usage of buildings, for instance, to put, or not even buildings, it could as well be how you feed people, how do you cultivate things in verticals, right? So this is number 1, the verticality. Number 2?
La deuxième, c'est en fait l'usage et le respect des écosystèmes naturels. On peut penser par exemple à remettre à ciel ouvert les cours d'eau, qui sont en fait une sorte de climatiseur naturel, puisqu'on a une circulation d'air frais dans la ville.
So number 2 is how do you use the water on the surface instead of keeping it underneath, which is a great way to refresh cities. I think you can save 2 degrees. Yeah. Number 3?
Eh bien, la troisième, c'est finalement le attrait au transport, c'est-à-dire que toute ville, en fait, devrait interconnecter ses transports rapides et ses transports doux pour, bien évidemment, favoriser la mobilité douce en ville.
Okay, so this is mobility within a city. How do you optimize so that it goes from one place to the other using different types of transportations, I would imagine. And number 4, but not least.
Et bien évidemment, le secteur de l'énergie, donc c'est réduire la consommation d'énergie et augmenter la circularité des énergies dans la ville. On pense bien évidemment au réseau de chaleur urbain, par exemple, mais on pense peut-être un peu moins à la forme urbaine. Par exemple, l'optimisation dans la forme urbaine des apports solaires et puis de la protection des vents dominants.
Okay, so number 4 is, did you want to translate? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes.
No, okay. So we're on number 4. So number 4 was depending on the what is it called? The form of the building. It's how you can optimize the usage of energy. Would you put in that category the fact that, for example, when you have data centers, you can use the heat to do other things with it?
Bien sûr.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, just to bridge something unusual, because we can't translate directly in English d'amour, which is the name of your company as well. But within cities, there is art. What is the core center? What is the art of the city, of each cities around the world? Probably, what could be your call to action to make all arts of cities sustainable?
So you've got 1 second to answer because we've got Caroline Goulard who's going to have to leave the duplex. And you know what? Let's hold on to this question and let's have Caroline Goulard. So hold the thoughts and let's move on for the duplex with Caroline Goulard from Mobility, a French company. Do you want to introduce yourself? Hello.
Hello, I'm the co-founder and the CEO of Modality.
Okay, do you want to introduce what your company does?
Sure. So Modality, it's an insight as a service software. It's dedicated to sustainable mobility planning. So it provides turnkey studies to understand all the transport solution in a territory, to measure intermodality, to diagnose problems and to test new scenarios. So today, analyzing intermodality requires very complex data treatments. So it's a system, and the information everyone is needing today for intermodality planning, it's very costly and very hard to get. And so that's why we are developing Modality. Modality industrializes the production of those data analysis thanks to dedicated algorithm and also thanks to powerful data visualization interfaces. So it's used by decision makers in the field of mobility, but also in the field of urban planning. Just like you said before, it's very important for the impact on the environment that we change the way we inhabit the city. So it's used by decision makers and it's designed for them. So it gives access to those decision makers to studies that would otherwise require several weeks of work and costly data treatment. And so that's why it's very convenient for them and it solves the problem of access to this information. So that's what Modality is doing.
Okay, thank you. How old is the startup?
It's a very young startup. It's just 1 year old, but with my partners, we have a previous experience in another company, which is called DataVise, which is specialized in human data interaction. So we are used to design and develop complex data visualization to facilitate the understanding of data.
Okay, thank you. Since I know you have to go, you should connect with Caroline because with Sandrine, sorry, because Sandrine, as she said, was working on 4-axis and mobility was one of them. So did you want to share something with her and connect? You know, we're always stronger when we connect all together, and she does have an example of one of the 4 pillars that you were talking about, right?
Exactement.
Exactly. Our role is to facilitate your work by pre-processing all the data you need to analyze the situation for a city.
Okay.
On devrait se connecter pour le
software. You should connect. You should connect. So this is the whole point also when you go. Fabrice, one quick question because she's got to go.
Sure. Thanks, Modality, for being there. Just one question or 2 questions very fast. why have you candidated to Climate Tech Awards? And what is your call to action, specifically for this 7th anniversary of Paris Agreement?
Okay, so I applied to publicize the modality tool to gain visibility because it's a very young tool, as we said. We launched it just a few months ago, and we need to collect feedback from users and from people working in the field of mobility, because it's very important for us to have those feedback to improve our MVP and to design the tool, add new features that are really relevant for the users and for the people working in this field. And the second question, a call to action, it's yes, we must change the way we move, we must change the way we inhabit the territory if we want to reduce the impact of transportation on green gas emissions. And it will not be done by replacing every car by electric cars. So we must organize sustainable alternatives to the personal car for everyone on 100% of the inhabited territory. And this is why we need intermodality. And if we don't have any tool to understand intermodality, to measure intermodality, to diagnose intermodality, this cannot be done.
Okay, thank you very, very much. And indeed, when we have things
Thanks a lot, modality.
Thank you.
She's still online? So yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, so this is really important because it's like how you optimize the change within a city, like multinodal that we used to work with when I was in another company. So this is, and once again, the goal of such fantastic, awards is to connect startups because then you've got the ecosystem and everyone is part of everything. So thank you very much for staying till right now, as I know you've got to go. So thank you very, very much. So Caroline, cheers. Okay, so we move on. So, yeah, you need to connect. So now we've got Durva. So we're going to see a presentation by another startup that candidated, and we've got a video for them. All right, welcome back. So to start with, as I said, we're doing category 4. Category 4 is on cities for sustainable buildings and mobility. And I apologize to the startup that I misnamed. So the name of that startup from India is Dhruva. So I apologize. Maybe I'm not pronouncing it right. So we've got actually Pradeep, who could actually correct me if I'm not pronouncing it right. So, sorry, do you want to, did I pronounce it right this time? Apparently, yes, so I thank you. So now we had that presentation. So we have modality that we just had with Caroline Goulard, and now we've got someone who is present, Stéphane Savarez, who is going to be representing the Techno-Carbon startup. Hey, welcome, your turn.
Thank you very much. I'm
You're
so happy
very
to be here. Thank you very much for selecting Techno-Carbon as a finalist. We founded Techno-Carbon 5 years ago because we realized that in order to beat climate change, which is our common enemy, we need to turn cities into carbon sinks. So what does it mean? It means, you know that today, when you're building, you're emitting CO2. That's called embodied carbon, because to make materials, we use industrial processes that emit a lot of CO2. So the more you build, the more you're adding to climate change. So we want to change that and do this, the opposite, which is we need to, in fact, store CO2 as we build. And you can achieve that using this material, which is named carbon fiber stone, and which is a layered composite of hard stone, natural stone, with carbon fiber. And when we're binding those materials together, we're giving them the properties, the same properties as steel, aluminum, and steel reinforced concrete. And this is something incredible to say. So we have proven that at the French National Labs, CSTB, and also IFRAMER for maritime construction. And we are addressing these areas which are maritime and on-land construction, but also some other industrial verticals so that we can actually decarbonize architecture and industry.
This is incredible. I love it. I must say it's quite heavy. It is heavy, right?
It has the same density as aluminum.
As aluminum, yeah.
2.6.
Did you try it? It looks incredible. Would you have a question for him? Because how do you use this material based on what you have presented?
C'est vraiment très léger, en fait, déjà. Donc, voilà. Et quels sont les formats de vente du matériel?
So that's a very good question because, in fact...
So how does one buy such material?
Yes, sure. So how do we make it? We make plates. So we start from plates, and then from those plates we can make other products like beams and other building components or industrial components, because industry uses a lot of steel. 2 billion tons per year. We can replace maybe half of that. So we are one of the few climate startups which have a 1 billion ton potential. And this is what you need, because this has been explained by IPCC in the special report on limited global warming to plus 1.5 C. And what IPCC says is that there are only 2 scalable carbon sinks. One is in sustainable agroforestry, and the other one is in carbon negative materials. This is why this technology is key to beating climate change, because we need to switch to carbon neutrality and then carbon negative emissions before 2050.
Yeah, very, very important. We need to do something.
Very, very great, very interesting. Probably one question for you. What are the big challenges within the building player to decarbonize? From the materials, from the energy perspective, or a good mix of?
Right now, the industry is facing an energy crisis, which is we can no longer make materials or even recycle materials in Europe. All the recycling plants have stopped. You have no longer recycled steel or recycled aluminum in France. This shows the extreme sensitivity of the current industrial processes to energy availability and to energy price. This technology is much less sensitive because we're using the tremendous energy built into stone million years ago by nature. So this is nature-based solutions, geosourced and soon biosourced, because we are already able to make carbon fiber from biomass. And this is the key to carbon negativity. But before that, we actually go to ultra low carbon. We built our first zero carbon power plant last summer, and this is truly zero carbon with a neutral carbon budget.
Okay, so it means a great mix and hybridation of old school and the high tech and new school. Is that it?
Yes, we're using the oldest material, stone, that we've used for millennia, but misused for millennia because we used it in a thick format. And this is a thin stone armed with carbon fiber, which is one of the most modern materials. So I like to say it is an oxymoron, okay? The oldest material with the newest material.
Great.
Okay, thank you very, very much. So now the instance you're all been waiting for. Ta-da-da-da-da-da. So let me look at the winner. I shouldn't show my back, sorry. Oh, let me double check. Oh, Stéphane, congratulations. Wow. Hey, the winner is Technocarbon with Stéphane Savares, who is here. Very, very nice. Wonderful. So this is category 4. Well, congratulations. You can put it next to this. This is much lighter than this.
You've got this? I keep this.
Very nice. Congratulations.
It's a
And
good
one
point.
of the things that was said as well by Sandrine, if you think of it, smart cities is not only about technology or things like this. As you said, it's putting the human, putting the citizen in the middle of a system where he's going to need to learn more, feel more comfortable, use other materials so it doesn't pollute as much. So congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you. So now we're going to move to category number 5, which is hydrogen sector and related applications. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Hello, hello. We are still around the Climate Tech Awards 2022. So we've seen different categories, and right now we're starting with category number 5. Category number 5, which is hydrogen sector and related application. Yes, incredible. We're getting there. We've got 8 categories. This is number 5. So we've got in duplex, we've got Andrew Beswick. Do you want to introduce, where is he? Yes, hello.
Hello.
So, how are you doing?
Very good, thank you.
Good. Do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about what you're doing around this category, please?
Yes, so Andrew Beswick, my background is in investment banking, and I, over the years, I've raised quite a lot of money for different companies in the space of energy transition. And today I thought I would address you with the subject, with regard to the subject of hydrogen, which until recently was not getting a lot of attention, but I think will form a greater part of our nominations in the future. Essentially, I've spent many years advising companies with various clean technologies, from wind generation to compound photovoltaic producers. And I've come to the conclusion that hydrogen offers a unique opportunity to migrate away from the dependency on hydrocarbons. Essentially, this is not to detract from all the other important decarbonizing technologies that we're looking at and talking about today. I think we need to embrace multiple solutions, but I thought I would give you a run through of the way I look at it, if that works for you.
That works perfectly. Go ahead, please.
So essentially, much of the world's energy required for manufacturing, transport, heating, etc., relies on the combustion of hydrocarbons, a very basic process. Essentially, oxidizing molecules to produce heat, gas expansion for mechanical power. Up to 80% of our energy requirements fall into this category today. And if we're going to have any chance of achieving our global CO2 reduction targets by 2035 and 2050, we need to work within the parameters that exist today. And I believe where that's heading is we need a different fuel. And right now, hydrogen is becoming the most viable solution at the scale that we need to deliver it at. I don't want to trivialize for a moment the challenges of migrating to hydrogen. They are significant, and we'll talk about those in a second. But they are solvable, and we have the technology that exists today. So I thought we'd take a little gander through the issues, both positive and negative, and see where if we can persuade people that hydrogen has a future. Firstly, let's look at the chemistry. Hydrogen is abundant in the form of water, no surprise there, but it's not found in its native state. So we have to create it typically through electrolysis, but we can manufacture it anywhere in the world. And before everybody raises a flag, yes, I do believe green or zero carbon hydrogen should be the only option here. If we use other solutions, we're not actually moving to a zero CO2 world. When burned or used in fuel cells, the only byproducts are water and heat, so it is arguably the most ideal fuel. And the most significant challenge that we typically come up against here is the 30% energy loss on the round trip of going from water to hydrogen and back to water again. This is an important factor, but one I would argue we can live with, particularly for the benefits that it bestows upon us. And it's interesting today to note part of the answer when it comes to this energy loss process may come from the EU's proposed carbon border tax that was revealed over the weekend. This would rightly address the issue of international companies that compete in other geographies using predominantly coal as an energy source, and actually create a level playing field for those who use more expensive energy in the form of this. And this is why I say I think we may have to live with the energy loss, but then it's a question of how do we levelize that at a financial level. The second issue I'd like to, or area I'd like to address briefly is just physical properties. It's well known that it makes a great reserve of energy, but it's very hard to contain. Hydrogen molecules are incredibly small, and they have some distinctly tricky properties. One is that containing them is challenging. They escape very easily. But actually, two of the other properties that don't get a lot of attention are the energy density is actually very high, even compared to gasoline, if you measure it by mass. However, if you measure it by volume, the energy density is quite low. So depending on what is your critical issue here, whether you're thinking about volume or weight, hydrogen can be incredibly attractive. If you consider, for instance, the example of a plane, if weight is your main consideration, hydrogen is an excellent solution. However, you need to consider the additional volume that would be required to store it. Then we come on to the other two large issues I would suggest. One is storage, handling, and transport. It's incredibly difficult to store in its native form. And so quite often people use the Haber process to turn into ammonia. And one thing, again, that doesn't get a lot of attention is that once in the form of ammonia, the energy density, in fact, the hydrogen density at a molecular level in a square cubic meter is greater as ammonia than it is as liquid hydrogen. It's also a stable, safe, and efficient way to transport it. And when I look across Europe at how do we, for instance, enable Germany to migrate to a hydrogen economy, ammonia transport is actually a very, very viable solution. Again, just this principle of working within what exists today. And finally, just coming down to the sort of pipes, tanks, and transport and general infrastructure. Again, this process of let's consider the positives and negatives. The existing infrastructure needs changing. There's a process called embrittlement that makes traditional pipes not suitable for hydrogen. There would need to be a massive upgrade of the equipment. And so we're talking about a substantial investment here. Many are quick to see the challenges, but I see limited options for heavy industry to do anything else but embrace hydrogen. And that's why I'm really advocating for it today. And I'm not alone in this opinion. ArcelorMittal to CMIX, JCB to Cummins, RWE to Scottish Power, are all focusing a great deal of resources on hydrogen. Batteries are often cited as, a great alternative here, but they don't solve a lot of heavy industry's problems. A hydrogen-based economy is going to be sufficiently similar to the current one that we have to allow society to continue to function. We will be able to make steel, concrete, transport goods on ships and trucks, heat our homes and schools, and take a plane to go on holiday. It will be different, but it'll be okay. And if you're still not convinced by what I'm saying today, take a look at the constant stream of announcements. This week we saw the French and Spanish governments announced Project H2Med, a €2.5 billion, 450-kilometer pipeline from Barcelona to Marseille to transport hydrogen. This had previously been planned as an LNG pipeline, but such is the speed of change that this plan was updated, and quite rightly so. The architects of this vision believe hydrogen will supply 20% of Europe's energy by 2050. So I would like to say to you all, we need to hope that hydrogen has a much bigger role to play in the future. Europe can achieve something that has long been a problem, energy security and independence. And I predict that hydrogen will be an overnight success that was 100 years in the making.
Andrew, thank you. I've got to stop you.
Solution to save the planet.
Andrew, Hello, sorry, I need to cut you. I apologize because I was listening and I was getting into it and it was really interesting. You're talking about like something which is a new area of work with a lot of chemists, understanding everything that we can do with molecules. And this is really challenging. And we can see, as you've really rightly said, is that there's many options to get greener and to do better. I'm sure I've got to cut you. I apologize.
No problem, no problem.
Yeah, it was really interesting. And I think everybody has understood that hydrogen is one of the aspects. And if it transforms into, what was it, ammoniac? Is that what you said? Then
ammonia is a good transport fuel, but it comes straight back to you as hydrogen. So.
Yeah. So and there's other ways of doing it. So I thank you very much. I apologize once again. We're with Fabrice wants to give 1 second to Sydney, I believe.
Yes.
What do you want to ask Sydney?
Yes. Thanks, Andrew, for setting the scene of the hydrogen sector. As we are now pre-selected for this specific, very important category. I would like to let the floor to Sydney Lobo, our co-chair and also jury member, just to have few words on a kick to action for the next batch 2023.
Few words, please.
I think one, Andrew mentioned about hydrogen, and hydrogen is the base chemical or, the base gas. The other thing is also to look at is methanol. We have CO2 capture. You capture the CO2, you make economical hydrogen, you will then have a parallel methanol economy, which, of course, transportation, everyone has to work on. There is innovation required. I'm not saying that, it's not required. It's a drop-in substitute for gasoline, but that's another parallel, liquid fuel, methanol economy, hydrogen economy, and the methanol economy can come from carbon capture with the green hydrogen. It's all in circularity and sustainability. It is possible. Let's look forward to it.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. So unfortunately, there is no no startups that were selected. Once again, it's like, and I admire that, the fact that, if there's not a category that has what we think and truly believe makes a difference for sustainability, climate change and everything, then we move on. So don't hesitate to, try it for next year. So thank you very much. So now we're going to move on to category number 6, which one of the ones that I like very much, women's voices. I'm a feminist. So women voices in climate and tech for Africa and Middle East. So let's go for this category now. Please stay tuned. All right, welcome back. So now, as I said, we're starting with category number 6, Women Voices in Climate and Tech for Africa and Middle East. So we've got Caroline Dama, who is a Green World Campaign. Where is she? Where is she? Where are you? Are you there? I don't have my glasses, so this is where I always wonder. So Caroline Dama, are you there?
Yes.
Yes? Oh, yes, now I see you. Thank you. Hello. So I was very impressed you did a Green World Campaign. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Oh, thank you. I'm Caroline Dama, and I run Green World Campaign Kenya. It's an organization that is aimed at building the capacity of indigenous communities to ensure that they are resilient and that they can have resilient food systems and water catchment systems in the face of climate change. I'm glad to be here. Should I go on?
Yes, so I didn't understand. I heard that you're looking for sustainability solutions, but I didn't hear the rest. Sorry, can you repeat?
Yes, so I work at ensuring that indigenous communities have the capacity to be able to establish resilient food systems and also water catchment systems.
Okay, so how does it work? Do you work with local producers? Do you have solutions? How does it work? How do you price it? How do you make it happen?
Okay, so the main goal mostly is to work with communities that are in arid and semi-arid lands mostly who are not able, lack capacity to adapt to climate change and its impact. So we mostly are working with farmers, female farmers, and also youth. We build their capacity so that they can be able to come together. There's power in numbers, so they can, it's anchored actually in also marrying indigenous and emerging technology, such that we stay true to also what is the African knowledge, but also marry with the new and emerging technology, especially when it comes to resilient food systems. So how can we add technology, for instance, to ensure that we enhance their productivity? And also, of course, when they come together as cooperatives, they can be able to access more markets. They have collective bargaining power.
Okay, I love the idea. So it's actually those farmers that are grouping, and as we said, the bigger, the more numbered you are, the better the power, the more you can offer, and then you can, from what I believe, enter bigger, what is it called, markets. Who do they sell to? Who are the customers?
Okay. So mostly they sell, that Africa is rapidly, one of the fastest rapidly urbanizing population. So for rural farmers, they access, of course, market in urban areas, but then also with the right capacity, they can be able to also access markets from outside their countries, also in other continents.
Yes, I agree, because usually it depends the volume that you make to be able to access to certain markets. So what you're doing is really, really good. Do you agree, Isabelle?
Yes, indeed. So congratulations.
Yeah. So we've got 3 startups. We've got one which is called, are they startups or are they people? Oh.
People.
Yes, all of a sudden I was wondering, reading the wrong line. I apologize. So we've got 3 names. The first one, which is Eya Abul Haj from Germany. No, from Germany. From Jordania. I apologize. I've got Omnia El Omrani from Egypt. And I've got Judith Mulwa from Kenya. If I haven't pronounced it right, I apologize already for that. I would like, who is in the call? Who is?
I am here, Aya.
Okay, Aya, Julia, you're on Zoom. And is Omnia there? Is Omnia, are you on the? Okay, so fantastic. So thank you. So I would like to ask Anya and Judith, I apologize once again, what made you candidate for this Climate Tech Awards? What were you driven by, please? So we can start with Aya. Why did you compete? Why did you present your work to this Climate Tech Awards?
Okay. I just have like a small presentation for 1 or 2 minutes. So if I can just introduce it, if that's possible.
Yes, of course, please do.
Okay. Hi, everyone. This is Aya, and I'm the co-founder and business development manager of Solvillion. I have lived in Marj al-Hamam, which is an urban area in the south of Amman, the capital of Jordan, but still not connected to sewage system, which means that we used to use the cesspool, and this caused a huge hazard for health and environment. We suffer from bad smell, infectious diseases, sometimes conflict with neighbor. And guess what? We need to pay a high monthly discharging cost to get out of the smell. Unfortunately, this problem is not Aya's problem alone. It's a problem for 35% of Jordan population, which means more than 3.9 million people. And this causes a huge hazard for health and environment. And most of these people live in rural area. In Solvillion, we developed a decentralized wastewater treatment system on site one, in a low cost, no monthly discharging cost, and you can reuse the water for agriculture and greening in a country that's specified as second poorest country in the world in water, and agriculture resources consume more than 56% of water resources. We sell this system for different customer segment, which is the household and the facilities not connected to sewage system in rural area, and for the NGOs and real estate developer companies. And our business model is based on the direct sale. So we sell our system in addition to have a supportive product, which is the training service for students and fresh graduates. Up to date, from 2020, we achieved this impact, which is we give a safe access to sanitation to more than 40,000 people in Jordan, and we save more than 34,000 of cubic meter yearly. We train hundreds of youth and give internship opportunity for dozens of them. So we work on to achieve sustainable development goals. And we install more than 63 systems for different category like schools, household, university, and mosques. And now we are in the phase to establish our production facility and filing our patent for this product. So our ask is to help us from your position to reach more people, connect them to sanitation, because poor sanitation is affect more than 2.3 billion around the world and take a life of one child every 20 seconds. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. And you are right. There's a lot of things to be done on sanitations. A lot of things have been done already in India. They've came out with a lot of systems by which, you know, they do, what is it called? They do systems and they install it in villages and things like this. So yes, there is a lot of things to do. And it can make a big change. And as you were saying, it's like you need help. And thank you for, you know, competing for this award, because even if you don't win, and I don't know the winner, so I have nothing to say around that, but the fact that you actually, what is it called, candidated, is already putting you forward and getting you to be known with what you're doing. So thank you very, very much, and congratulations. Judith, do you want to talk about what you're doing in Kenya, please?
Yes, my name is Judith Mundwa. I am from Kenya. I got into this competition based on being a voice, not necessarily working in the context of a startup. My background is in finance. My passion is in climate financing, but also climate technology. Just to mention that I work with the GSMA, that is probably you would know is a mobile and digital technology-driven institution that partly looks into climate issues. And what we do is we work with innovative startups in the climate resilience space, but we also do a lot of cut-edging research as far as climate technology is important. So from my lens, I would say, why is climate technology important? Because we have seen that it accelerates our impact. It's instantaneous in nature. And when you look at, for example, climate financing in the climate change and technology perspective, then you see, for example, like a farmer in Kenya can get money instantaneously. And this is quite impactful because then they don't have to wait for approval for a loan for a very long time. And we have seen this as a game changer in Africa, and particularly in Kenya in numerous ways. And just also to mention that I find that research is quite important at this stage as far as climate change is important and climate technology. And just to mention that I'm also doing my Ph.D. in climate adaptation finance, and this is based on the passion that I have for the topic and for the subject. But also I'd want to contribute to knowledge as far as how then does climate technology and climate adaptation financing then how can it provide impact? Because I think this is a missing link in the nexus as far as data, but also information and how you can layer up different disciplines on the same. I agree. That's me.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I agree. And you know, when I hear all those stories, you could actually both connect together. And this is where it is the power of working all together, one startup helping another one and the other one being able to, you know, make a contribution. And great that you're doing your PhD on such subject, because there's going to be a lot of need as we move forward. So thank you very much. Caroline, would you like to add something? No? Yes? 1 second? 2 seconds?
2 seconds. For me, it's just, if you'll allow me, I'd really like to advocate for the critical role of women that play in, especially responding climate change. And I'm really honored to be in the presence of Judith and Aya. It's good that you're doing this. I think that it's well known that even though climate change affects everyone, it does not affect everyone equally. And especially for women, it affects us more. I think this is the premise that led to the decision to have in COP27 a fund set up for loss and damage. So I think for us, the question, especially to be here, how can we ensure that those funding reach the women that are most vulnerable? And also the other question is, how can we use tech to ensure that there's, of course, equity when it comes to distribution of funds to women, so that people that are in startup like Aya, or people that are in the research space or climate finance space can be able to access these funds and also build the capacity of women, especially the vulnerable, be it in the Middle East or in Africa in rural areas, so that the funds are equitably. And also that I think it's known that because, of course, we are having more impacts of climate change, men are moving to the urban areas. So the rural areas are left to women. Can we use that technology, climate finance, climate tech, or even water catchment systems to ensure that the women that are left behind are more resilient? And also the question is, what does adaptation look like? And it has to be from a place whereby women are good at asking questions, so that we do adaptation from an informed lens, not whereby people sit somewhere else and decide this is what adaptation looks like for women. Have women taken part in lending a voice to what adaptation looks like for them? And so we must ensure that when they access funds or capacity, it has to be in the context that they have decisions, that they've made them, and that they can be able to share it equitably. So I just want to say it's an honor, and Judith and I am very proud, and I look forward to the many ways you can continue to lend a voice and build the capacity of the vulnerable, be it the youth, but more specifically the women, and especially the girls. I hope whether you win or not, you're going to be able to empower future generations. We have the highest number of youth in Kenya, in Africa, especially by 2020, we're told like 25% of the youth were under 25 years. I think it's also the same in the Middle East. And how can we look at that and look at the women or the young girls? And I hope that you're going to provide a space also to build the capacity of the young girls that you come across.
I agree.
So I'm very proud and all the best.
Yeah, and I agree, Caroline. We need to be, we need to empower the younger generation and to be role models. And there's a lot we can do. And there's been, Indian banks that have put together the Grameen Bank, where you actually do micro credits, and they're pushing on women, and they're showing that actually women are reimbursing much better, and they're, more, how should I say, less of a risk. So this is really good. So really congratulations to all of you for candidating. And now the winner is... Ta-da!
Okay, so first I would like to congratulate you all for your really smart actions and innovative solutions that you are trying to deploy, and in order to tackle climate change, but also UN Sustainable Development Goals. And thank you also for all your role in empowering the youth and also women. And women, as you know, they are very strong, they are very innovative ideas too, and they are part of the solution equally as men.
Yes.
So now I will announce the winner. The winner for the category 6, Women in Africa and the Middle East. So the jury has decided that the winner is Judith Murwa from Kenya.
Yes, congratulations. Round of applause. Thank you, thank you. And once again, don't hesitate to promote all the rewards that you do. And once again, it's not because one wins that the others do not win. Connect together, put yourself forward, write a post on LinkedIn, say how you candidated, how you actually connected, because connected we're stronger. So really very nice, congratulations. Very nice. Yes, round of applause. So thank you very, very much. And I will move now forward to the category 7, which is manufacturing and circularity, goods, products, fashions, and luxury. Thank you. Yes, welcome back again. This is another category. We're moving forward, 8 categories, and we are now category number 7, which is manufacturing and circularity for goods, products, fashions, and luxury. And we've got the great pleasure, hello, Paul, to have Paul Daniels, who is, I love the title, I told you, Peripheral Thinkers. Do you want to introduce yourself? Welcome.
Yes, I'm happy to do that. I have a 60-minute keynote that I'm going to square down into 6 minutes.
This is
so
a teaser.
If you'd like to know more about me, you can find me on the LinkedIn.
So try to squeeze it, but I'm sure, you know, they'll be so interested that they're going to go and jump right in to have more information. Go ahead.
Terrific. Thank you. Well, what if I told you that right now you could access everything you need to achieve anything you want? That's right. As business leaders, technology developers, community influencers, legislators, regulators, right now, you can access everything you need to achieve anything you can imagine. Now, some say that this statement contradicts conventional wisdom. Exactly. Conventional wisdom and industry best practices are often defined by that industry's leaders and subject matter experts, right? Their advice is well-intentioned, but without a broad set of experiences, it can be from narrow perspectives. Is it possible that the next innovation in this category or any others is a new way of thinking? To demonstrate, we're going to go on an unconventional journey. Now, all you need to pack is your imagination and your willingness to follow my lead. Imagine you're standing in a mountain field covered with wildflowers. The sun is warm on your face, the air is crisp and cool, and as you look out on that mountain field, bam, right there is the biggest challenge you face, rising out of the flowers like a monolith. Now pause that image of the mountain field for a moment and take something and cover your eyes, just so that you can't see directly in front of you. This is where you follow my lead, right? Everyone participates. Terrific. While you may not be able to see what's directly in front of you, what can you see? Well, you can move your eyes up, down, to the left, to the right. In fact, look around and find something in your environment that you haven't noticed before. Could be a shadow on the wall, a mark on the ceiling, whatever it is, find something that you haven't seen before. Got it? Great. You can take your hand down. While you may not be able to make out what you found, all the details about what you found that you saw when you're looking around, you can acknowledge that it's there. That's peripheral vision. Now, looking at that image of that monolith in the mountain field, consider now that you move to the left, say 100 yards. What does this new vantage point uncover about your challenge? Well, likely you see additional detail and perhaps its depth. And you can continue that journey all the way around your challenge in a circle, right? A 360-degree review. But that view of the challenge is still from your perspective, perhaps filtered through your set of experiences. So if we go back to this position some 100 yards to the right of our original starting point, instead of looking at our challenge, this time, look around. Now what do you see? Well, likely there are other objects and perhaps different terrain, and there are people, but these people, they're not part of your team or your company, and they're not part of your big global initiative. And they're not looking at your challenge. They have their own challenges and their own goals. They have their own approaches and ways of overcoming challenges. They have their own ideas and proven solutions. They have their own experiences. In fact, these people's experiences may be just what you need to see your challenge from a different perspective. Using the knowledge from include peripheral experiences, you begin to engage in peripheral thinking. Peripheral vision, finding something new, peripheral awareness, peripheral vision. There's peripheral thinking. Peripheral thinking is a set of super skills used by visionary leaders for centuries. At the core, peripheral thinking takes seemingly unrelated ideas and connects them and applies them in new ways. You've seen how the nominees across all of these categories have created new approaches and technology. They found the elements needed to pursue their goals. The fact is, the elements we all need to achieve our goals already exist. The elements already exist. They are in the minds and experiences of every being on the planet. You can access these elements right now. How? Meet someone new. We made connections already today on this call. Look at another industry that's not related to yours in a different country, culture. Interact with people and companies that are not actively involved in the fight against climate change. Learn what's working, what's not working, and why. Let us not hold so tightly to our own conventional wisdom that innovations are simple iterations of the people that are already engaged in the climate fight. Rather, let us expand our experiences and awareness to include everyone. This way, we tap into their knowledge and communicate with everyone and achieve our goals.
Yes.
You now have a different way of thinking, and you have many more places to look for answers and solutions. Peripheral experiences are everywhere, and they're just waiting for you to apply. When you boldly explore that periphery, collect and combine new ideas and proven solutions and apply them in any way, everything is possible. You see, you really can access everything you need to achieve any goal you have. Until we meet again, I will be looking for you in the periphery. And I hope I made 6 minutes.
I didn't, to be honest, I didn't look at the timer. I was listening to you, and as you were talking, new things were coming to mind. And you are so, so right. It's how do you connect people? How do you connect ideas? How do you make sure that 1 + 1 = 3 and it does not equal 2? And this is actually what happens, and I truly believe in, is that when you put people that come from different areas of work, it works. I teach design thinking, and the thing that I put forward is the fact that people should come from finance, from different industries, because when you put everyone's mind into place, this is where new ideas come. So I love what you just said. Now let me challenge you for one question. Are you ready?
I am.
The challenge is based on what you have learned and heard today. Could you tell us what you would connect, and if you can't, it's okay, I'm challenging you on this one, I apologize. Or no, I don't apologize, I challenge you. If you were to put 2 ideas that you heard about coming from, you know, hydrogen, coming from, you know, the women's suggestions, what would you connect that seems so obvious to you?
Well, it appears to me that they are all connected because they all involve human beings. Whether that is in the building materials that are low to no carbon emissions, to the way that we structure our urban and our rural environments, using those materials, using production methods that are low to no carbon, allowing people to move around but not have to move in order to sustain a good living. In the luxury and fashion design, products and goods market, there are so many studies. The key is consolidating all of that knowledge including those people that are not actively involved in
Yeah.
the fight against climate change, and bringing in what they already know into the mix to fight the climate
Thank you.
increase.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
Yeah, very nice. I fully agree, and I thank you for this experience of looking things from a different angle and being able to imagine new things. So really, Paul, thank you very, very much for this.
My pleasure.
And thank you. And we will go on now to the last category, which is category 8, which is all about e-commerce and supply chain, tourism and events. Yes, welcome. Hello. I moved a little bit fast. I apologize. Welcome, everyone, again. So this is the last category, which is all about e-commerce and supply chain, tourism and events. Welcome. All right. So do you want to introduce everyone? So now we're adapting. Here you go. You've got a mic. Now this is the last category. You are tall. I need my, yes, thank you. So you're going to need to put it right here.
Okay.
Your camera is right here. And you're all set. And do you want to introduce yourself, please?
Sure. Yeah, so thanks very much, Laurent, for being there as the trip to represent also the category number 8, which is dedicated to e-commerce, supply chain, tourism, and event. We know that the scope 3 is very important and one of the most difficult to decarbonize. And we have decided here at Climate Tech Awards to be a best practicer. So we have record all our scope, we have monitor all our scope, and we have decided to turn all the participants in an audience and to have the good measure on what all the value chain we are going to deploy, from food, from travels, mobilities of the speaker. You have seen that already there is many people who are in remote or in duplex. That is all around the design thinking we would like to showcase, that not only talking on climate technologies, but practice Paris Agreement. And we are very proud to have Laurent as our key partners and Nabila in the team of the trip. And I'll let you the floor probably to introduce what we have done and what we have done together.
Thank you, Fabrice. Thank you. Thank you for having me on this fabulous event. That could be a paradox to organize an event talking about climate and making everybody coming by playing. So you have made a good choice to make an hybrid event and to have a lot of people connected to this event remotely, and having a small number of participants here coming in this studio and to be present to talk. So congratulations for this. And we have made the calculation of the two scenarios. The one that we are living here currently, that is a digital low carbon event, and the one that was the alternative to make everybody's coming. And I'm going to show you the figures. I don't know if everybody can see the figures on the screen.
I believe so. Can everybody see the figures on the screen, Eric?
Oh, yes.
Yes, of course.
All right, good. So we are the trip. The trip, we are just 2 words on this. We are a software editor, and we help companies to travel low carbon. So briefly to say what we are doing, but to say that we are doing this, we need to calculate the carbon footprint of the trips. Here, what we have done here for you for this event, it's not only calculating the transportation, but calculating everything. So the real scenario is this one, having a lot of people, around 700 remote participants, having 30 people here in these studios. It's a virtual event. And the fictional scenario that we have been calculating is a physical event in Paris, having a lot of people connected as well, 2,000 and 350 face-to-face participants. And we are going to see that we are taking into account transport, energy consumption, catering, accommodation, digital service, of course the streaming, because here if we have a live event, we need to calculate, to take into consideration that we are using a lot video conferencing and streaming, furnishing as well, communication and waste generation. And this is the result. We have a very big part of transport and participation, which means the live streaming and the video conference for the real scenario, the one that we're living here. And for the fictional scenario, it will be a lot about transportation, having a lot of people that are coming from all over the world by planes mostly. So the good news is that on the real scenario that we are living here is that we are the carbon footprint taking into account everything, and 1/3 is about participation, so the streaming. The 2/3 is about transport. Even if we have only 30 people, transport is a lot of weight, so it makes at the end a little bit less than 20 tons of CO2. And the fictional scenario, it would have been 10 times more if people would have come here for attending
this event. Already a fantastic, reduction of carbon footprint. Fantastic.
And you can see it as well per participant, as we have 26 kilogram CO2 equivalent per participant for the one that we're living, with a little bit less participant. Having more participant with the alternative scenario, we would have been 81 kilograms CO2 per participant. So that's the calculation we've made, and we are very happy to join and to be your partner for calculating this. And
the question we could ask is, what do we do with all this saving of carbon footprint? We should be able to, can we calculate it in terms of money? How much money did we save globally if we were to price the carbon footprint?
We can, we have a calculation of the ton of the CO2, that there is a market on this. Yep. But we are not generating carbon, let's say, saving. It was just a fictional calculation. It's not like by planting trees where we are putting CO2 pumps, and this is the real compensation or the neutralization that we can do. But here is just to make the difference between what you are organizing here and, unfortunately, COP 20-something, where everybody is coming by flight and, of course, talking about climate, but reinforcing the problem itself.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, thanks a lot also, again, Laurent, for making it happen. Because we know and we do believe that all event organizers should try, just have a try to redesign, rethink. It could take you 1 week, 2 weeks, just to have a reflection, to reboot your roadmap of deployment of your event. But we know that we have to not only to speak, but to practice the thing we are putting on the table. And it's all about this, and we are very pleased to have you. For the next one, for the batch 2023, hope that we are going to scale also by quantity, but as well by the quality of the data we are going to figure out.
Thank you for your trust.
You're welcome.
Congratulations, thank you. All right, so now we move forward to the closing ceremony, right?
Yes, this is a closing ceremony, an exceptional closing ceremony.
Thank you for being here from the beginning. 8 categories, and now we're reaching the end because everything needs to end.
And we are going to welcome several people around this and in different tempo. And we will have...
But let's wait a little bit more so they can show us a little jingle.
Exactly.
Go for it. All right, now in this studio, we're going to have many, many people who are going to come and join. This is the closing ceremony, so we're going to have people coming from all the co-chairs. So please, co-chairs, don't hesitate to join us. There's room. And then afterwards, well, we'll have, let me see who's still online. So let's join them. Let's have them. Yes, welcome. Here they come.
Yes, welcome everyone.
Yes, welcome everyone. All right.
Final.
Yes, it's the big final. This is where we're going to be so crowded. Please welcome, join. Welcome, seeing you again. Hello. Okay, by the way, we need more women, okay? Hello, they're coming, they're coming. And yeah, very,
Yes,
I
come.
fully agree. Okay, usually it's, this is where they're gonna say women are always late. Hello, ladies, now is the time, thank you. Come on, please, come on in.
Niveau up.
Yes, please,
Sandrine.
yes.
Stéphane.
Yes, yes, yes. So a lot of people.
Yes, it's okay.
I'll handle it. You've told everybody's spoken. So who has? Okay, so all right, here. So you get a mic. You'll see. You can always adjust. So here we're online. So everybody's listening to what we're saying. So hello, we're getting adjusted. A lot of people. Actually, maybe you can move a little bit this way, a little bit beyond the line. I will, move forward. Maybe we can squeeze in, and you still need to squeeze in, and you still need to squeeze in, and you still need to squeeze in. Hello, yes, squeeze in more and more and more. Still, you need to squeeze in. Actually, as a lady, you could come, sure. Right here. Yeah, you should be in the middle. So I believe everybody is going to be here. Isabelle, you need to move forward. The others, we're getting adjusted, which is normal. This is live stream, and we love it, and we're very, very happy to be here. So we've got, I believe, Dr. Pradeep, Monga. I think you're going to say a word. Yes? Are you prepared? So, Executive UNCCD, I love all those acronyms, former Director of INIDO, Director of Program at ESA, International Solar Alliance, CTA Co-Chair. What I can say is we all need titles and we all need to have things moved around. So, do you want to take over?
Yes, I let Pradeep to make the bridge from this 2022 session dedicated and in weeks after the COP27 and make the bridge for the COP28. And I let you the floor for a very smart and closing remark. What is your call to action, Pradeep?
Fabrice, thank you so much. First of all, congratulations to all of you. And I think this is a great job we have done today. And we have listed very awarded entrepreneurs, innovators in clean tech space. I feel innovation is the key. COP28, when we are going to Abu Dhabi, to Dubai, UAE next year, we are looking for action. Everybody is looking for action. Everybody is looking for financing. And everybody is looking for partnerships. So I believe that these three pillars will go forward for COP28 for action on the ground, and for which financing has to come in and where the innovation will play a very important role. I'll stop here.
Oh, that was a 5 quick minutes, right? It's very nice. But what you said is very, very important, is indeed, it's all the connection. And I think that everybody who's joined and everyone who participated in this event should connect really to not only stop with what has just happened today. It should be something that we do every single day, that we change. And it's not like we're going to a conference, we're attending a meeting, and all of a sudden everything stops. It should be something that we do every single day. Do you all agree?
If you can give me another,
I give you whatever you want, just as long as you keep on changing the world. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. I think so, Fabrice, Isabelle, and Overdream. My dream is to set up an international climate alliance. We feel there's a space which is yet to be filled in. There's a space for UN, there's a space for governments, space for private sector, and space for civil society. But it's time to bring everybody together, where that platform can give them hope, trust, movement, and of course action on the ground. And we believe that International Climate Alliance could be a very way forward to really bring that momentum to help those vision getting into translated into action on the ground, and somebody then again scale it up. And of course the private sector will come in, the government's policies will come in. But I think the time is ripe to have this International Climate Alliance coming up at COP28. And I believe my colleagues present here and other co-chairs will agree with me that if we work strategically towards that, we can really have it launched at COP28.
I fully agree. Should we give you, each one of you?
Exactly.
Yeah,
We're going to have, and very pleased to have you also, Caroline Dama from Kenya. And just to have closing remarks, Caroline, the floor is yours.
Oh, thank you, and fellow co-chairs and people online. And yes, I think it's always a start. Sometimes it's hard, and this is a good start for us. And I think for me, the call for action is diversity, the ability for us to bring forth a diverse skill set, because each of us contribute differently to the climate action. I think the awards today show that each of us in our different skill set, we are contributing a lot. I think that is what is going to take us to the next phase. It's what is going to contribute towards adaptation of climate change, and it's going to be able to leverage on those skills and meet different communities, be it indigenous communities, be it urban communities, be it people in the tech space at their point of need. So thank you for setting this up, and I look forward to contributing to many more.
Thank you. Who wants to take over?
Let's have the floor, Andrew.
Andrew.
Are you here, Andrew?
Sorry, I had a little connection issue then.
Okay, great.
That's good. You're saving on energy, but now you can use it. Go ahead. It's your turn. Do you want to say the final words before the closing?
What is your call?
All I would say is, look, I think it's excellent that we pull together an event like this. We have so many different sectors represented. And it's not about choosing any one technology to make a difference. It's about choosing as many as possible. We have a mountain of a task, and therefore we need to support all of these initiatives. So thank you to everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Let's have the floor with Paul in North America. Paul, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. My final comments. When we collectively collect perspectives from other people, when we connect ideas and solutions, regardless of their origin, when we guide and coach leaders around the globe, together we create paths to innovation, and we will solve this climate crisis.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Strong believer. We believe it for it too. Next one. Who? Yes.
And I will let the floor as well to our co-chair who is here.
Yes, Tom.
Well, thank you. What I really admire in all the things that have been brought forward today is that we don't talk about the problem, that we don't talk about senses of urgency, but that we talk about solutions. And that's what we need. So it's not just talking about action, it's about showing action. And all of you have shown that action. All of you have put money, effort, energy into solutions. And that's the kind of movement that we really need. And I can only encourage you to further widen the net and get others on board as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
And probably, yes, to keep the line with Tom, we are going to have also with Pierre-Henri, who is not far from there, and probably to introduce something very special for this closing ceremony.
Something or someone?
Something special.
Something.
For
all
someone
right.
special.
Okay.
And probably to let the floor also to one of our first, I will say, co-chair nominee, Tom Middendorp, because you have just built a great career in a very specific domain, and now turning as a retired defense expert, specialist and leader, turning in civil society in the way you turn it, I do think that you showcase something which is very, very strong, aligning with all your background and all the track records you have analyzed. So we would like to thank you again and to give you a specific awards with Pierre-Henri.
Well, yes. Congratulations, and I think it's very well deserved. I enjoyed the moments we have spent together in this opportunity. I think we are really having with you a good sign of how we can change our way of life, our way of working. You're coming from a military background, no specific engagement on climate, and suddenly, just by building on it, you discover that we are not going to be able to make it if we don't change our ways to do things. And you have decided to make a new life about it. And I congratulate you very much about that. And I understand that we are going to give you one of those awards. Exactly. I don't know which one it is, but
and
you're going
Isabelle
to do that.
And Pierre-Henri, I'll let you the floor to give you the award.
Yes, so congratulations for all your nations, your efforts to unite all the efforts to make work together, governments, companies, citizens, and to face risk, including the climate crisis. So congratulations.
Thank you. Voilà. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Tom. Welcome.
Well, I'm a bit quiet now because I'm
That's not
I'm a
the
bit
time.
embarrassed because you are all the ones who deserve awards, and I don't feel like the one who deserves it. But I would like to dedicate this first of all to the great work done by Fabrice. He has worked, and I've seen that only parts of it, but he has been working many days, but also many nights to make this happen. So a few more gray hairs have grown during the last few weeks, and you turned this into a success. So congratulations to you and thank you to you. I would also like to thank all our co-chairs for all the work they put into it and the jury behind the scenes to make this happen. But I would like to dedicate the awards that all of us deserve to our children who deserve a better future. And we are doing this for them so that they can keep on living like we had a good life for ourselves. Thank you all.
Thanks. And now I would like to have two breaking news for these closing remarks and introduce a very nice, smart and great invité, Jean-Louis Etienne. Jean-Louis who is here, and I will have you the floor, a great track record explorer, adventurer, scientist, physician, and today, dealing with a great project, studying the climate, studying with the science, a great science base for the first time of the South Polar, and today, as we are the 7th anniversary of the Paris Agreement, I know that your message could be very strong and important.
Okay.
And I'll let you the floor as well, because you just come from having this message. And
No, here we go.
Yeah, but I want to speak with those guys.
Yeah,
first.
but here, no.
Yes.
There are millions of people who want to talk
so
to you.
welcome to Jean-Louis Etienne, please.
Yeah. I don't really know you, and you don't know me.
Yes, but now we are part of the same team.
Okay, good. So the only thing I can speak about is the next project I'm working on, which is an exploration of the Southern Ocean. The Southern Ocean is the ocean which surrounds Antarctica. And we call that the roaring 50s. I mean, it's a place where the wind is very blowing. And it's a place very difficult to access. And I'm going to build, still on the way, a vertical vessel. It's 100 meters high. It's 1,000 tons. And it will be able to drift around Antarctica, very stable. And this ocean is the major carbon sink of the planet. But you really don't know the efficiency, because the CO2 dissolves in the cold water. You know this, and this is why it is the major carbon sink. And the vessel is named Polar Pod like a pod. And it will drift around Antarctica. And it's there is no engine at all. There is no generator. It's a zero-emission vessel. The engine is the current. The electricity is the wind, comes from wind. And we're going to put on board hydrophones. Hydrophone is this thing below the sea level, in order to do a census of marine life by acoustic. We know the signature of all the species, and it will take 3 years. We will do 2 turns around the world, we can say, and we will live in 2024. That's it.
Thanks a lot, Jean-Louis, for being there. And just to introduce as well for those who don't know, Jean-Louis, he is the first person who access to the North Pole and today exploring the South Pole. So good luck for your new project.
Okay.
And it will be help not only the scientific community, but also globally the humanity to better understand, to monitor as well as fast as possible the climate change we are faced on.
What the people need is pedagogy. People has to understand the difficulties of the solutions. It's just only change one thing, you know. It's more difficult than that. It will take several decades, but we have to start yesterday. I mean, you understand? Yeah.
Sure.
I've been crossing Antarctica, and with people who work on the history of the climate is in the ice which cover the Antarctic, and inside this the ice there is a history of the climate, because they analyze the small bubble of air, you know, and for example they have the history of 1 million years of the Earth climate, and what we discover is the planet has its own life. It has been more hot, more cold, more hot, more cold, but the last 150 years, you can see the elevation of temperature and the CO2 in the atmosphere. So it's 150 years. That's where you have the history of the influence of the responsibility of our civilization on climate. C'est ça. Okay.
Exactly, exactly. Thanks a lot, Jean-Louis. Stay with us. We are going to welcome and very synchronize the science-based evidence, the science knowledge with cultural and indigenous knowledge. We have the great privilege to welcome 2 people who's going to introduce, hopefully, one great of the greatest
It's the
person.
grandson. It's the grandson.
That's it,
Yeah.
the grandson. And I'm going to introduce first by lady, Emilie Barrucand. She's anthropologist, project manager, specialist expert on indigenous knowledge and culture and adaptation for positive impact. Pleased to have you by remote, unfortunately not on stage, Emilie. And you're going to have, and to make the bridge and the connection and the language connection with the grandson of a great person, the chief Raoni, the chief Kayapo Raoni. So welcome to you, the grandson of the family Mektuktir, and very happy to have you in the live stream, connecting with you, all of us. And I'd like to just introduce Emilie first to make the translation from English to Portuguese and Portuguese to the Kayapo language.
Yes, thank you. I'm very happy to be part of this event, and with Beptuk, who is, as you said, Raoni's grandson. So Raoni could not participate because it's rainy there in his village, and there is just a connection nearby, internet connection nearby the village, because inside there is no connection. So we tried to organize, but his participation, but it was not possible. So Beptuk, who is a really young leader, but very famous one, will represent him. And so I found very wonderful, that Raoni received this award. Because, of course, technologies and innovations make it possible to compensate for the destruction of the planet, to rebuild what has been destroyed and to find solutions to destroy less. But there's another path for protection of the planet, and is conservation. Conservation, for example, of the primary forests and of biodiversity. And the champions of this conservation are indigenous peoples. You know, 80% of the biodiversity, or most precious biodiversity of the world, is on indigenous people's lands. And indigenous peoples from Amazonia, you know, they protect Amazonian forests. So we depend on them. We depend on their resistance, of what they do for us, and we depend on the lands. We depend, and actually, you know, Raoni is the most important chief of Kayapo people and the most famous leader in Brazil and of the Amazon. And thanks to his work, he managed to protect a land. It's like 1.5, you know, times the size of Portugal. You know, it's only Amazonian forests. And thanks to his work, also, you know, many projects that threatened the Amazonian were stopped. And those people, you know, are, yes, our protectors. But they need our help. They need, yes, it could be innovations. If people have ideas of innovations to help them to protect the forests, you know, to protect their traditions or way of life, it will be very great. And they need also help to finance projects, to protect their lands, help also, I mean, that people understand also that business has to be with less bad impacts on Amazonian forests and on the lands, because still Europe, France, many countries are participating to this destruction. So yes, we should find solutions with technologies and innovations, and also help them to continue what they do for us. And then we will find the way to protect the planet, and we will succeed.
Thanks a lot for the big picture you have designed, Emilie, bridging not only technologies but techniques. It's all about this, protecting the rainforest, which is the great, powerful tool we have since not decades, not centuries, since millions of years to mitigate the climate itself. And I would like probably and directly to have a smart, as well, introduction with the grandson of the Mektuktir family and the grandson of Chief Raoni, and just to make the translation and the connection with all of us and all of you there.
Yes. So yes, Beptuk, você vai fazer uma apresentação de você e assim Fabrice, si tu peux juste
I can yes, I can resume. Could you probably introduce the Chief Raoni to represent him again, to showcase who he is and how far he has done not only his job or career, his pathway in life, to alert and to ring the bell to everyone since a long time, since much more than 40 years now.
Beptuk, se você pode fazer uma apresentação do seu avô, do trabalho dele desde tantos anos, e se apresentar você também.
Em primeiro lugar, quero agradecer de coração mesmo por ter lembrado, admirado, né, de um grande líder nato, que é o guardião da floresta, que é o protetor da natureza, protetor do seu povo, e ele nesse momento eu fico muito feliz de poder ter conhecimento de que ele está recebendo um prêmio muito importante na vida dele, na carreira dele, e também na jornada que ele está tendo até hoje.
So he said, I want to thank you to remember like my Raoni, who is a ground leader and who is a guardian and protector of the Amazon. And I feel happy to know that he received this award for his work and that that you remember his work.
E todos nós tivemos um conhecimento e também tivemos noção de ver o que ele começou a falar, começou a defender há muitos anos atrás, né, quando ele era muito jovem. Ele vem falando sobre o cuidado da natureza, porque se destruir tudo, vai vir muitos problemas, muitas consequências, né? Vento forte vai vir, e vai vir muita queimada, muito sol quente. Então, o que ele prevê naquele tempo, quando ele era jovem, que já vem tendo esse papel de poder pedir para todos desse planeta para que tenham cuidado do planeta, porque virá as consequências que são os problemas que hoje nós estamos enfrentando, né? Que é mudanças climáticas. Hoje nós vemos muito sol quente, nós estamos vendo no período da chuva não está mais chovendo mais. Então, o que ele preveu quando ele era jovem, muitos anos atrás, e hoje nós estamos vendo. Então, com muita gratificação, né? Muita alegria, eu venho em nome dele agradecer, né? Agradecer a todos que estão nessa live, e nós estamos junto com ele. Todos nós estamos junto com ele.
So all of us, yes, we heard what he says since you know since he starts his work, you know, because when he was young already, Raoni, he said that he spoke about climate change, about, you know, the strong winds, about hot sun, and now what he said is happening. And I'm happy to represent him today, and we are all with him.
Bom, o que ele teve no passado, de poder ter esse papel de poder motivar a todos desse planeta, de conscientizar todos a não poluir a água, a não poluir a terra, de não poder destruir a terra. E hoje, nós, como juventude, estamos todos com ele. O resultado que ele teve naquele tempo de poder pedir para todo mundo cuidar do planeta, e hoje deu resultado. Nós, da geração nova, independente de ser indígena ou não indígena, nós, da juventude, por ser uma geração nova, estamos preocupados junto com ele. Nós estamos muito preocupados de pessoas querendo destruir tudo nesse planeta. Mas que nós, da juventude, nós estamos unidos, sempre gritando para o mundo para não poder destruir o que já está ali faltando, o que já está ali sobrando para nós poder sobreviver, respirar o ar puro, né? Para que possamos ainda continuando, né, ter vida nesse planeta, né?
Thanks a lot for all your input, and thanks a lot. You can see that many people just join just to listen your message, just to come to say a great testimony to the Chief Kayapo, to all with the Chief Kayapo, all the culture, all the indigenous culture, all the people who live or depend on the forest. I have a great question for, again, a great person who play a great job. Any great things, because the forest is great, and we know that we have to protect it as much as possible. I'll let the floor to my neighbor, Pierre-Henri, who would like to ask you something.
Hello, and thank you very much for the presentation you just made. It's fabulous to see that the people living in the forest is calling on us to do our part of the job. You are doing yours, and we are not going to conserve or preserve the forest without the people living in the forest and out of the forest. So we are with you, and I know that French President Macron has, as many of his predecessors, a high esteem for Chief Raoni, for what you represent, and a lot of what we are doing, what we have been doing in 2015 with the Paris Agreement is done for you, the people living in the forest, because you are the first protectors of the forest, and we have to defend the defender of the forest. This is a goal for all mankind, and we are going to work together on that. But maybe Emilie will have to translate that, and I don't want to be too long. Bonjour Emilie, au passage.
Bonjour Pierre-Henri. Ele falou muito obrigado for your presentation, and que estamos com vocês, com os povos indígenas. O presidente Macron gosta muito do seu avô, e os povos indígenas são os primeiros protetores da planeta. E estamos com vocês.
Muito obrigado.
Muito obrigado.
Merci beaucoup. And it's oh, actually, go ahead.
Pode falar.
Para finalizar, me chamo Tuki Metukira. Eu sou jovem liderança do meu povo Kayapó, neto legítimo do Raoni, do cacique Raoni. E eu ainda vou continuar com essa luta que ele vem fazendo. Nós da juventude, nós vamos continuar ainda, né, sempre gritando para o mundo para que possamos cuidar do nosso planeta. A água, a terra e também a vida que nós somos, né?
So my name is Bebtuk Metuktire. I represent the young people, the young leaders, and Raoni is my grandfather. And the young, the young people with me will continue to protect the earth and also the water, and to protect nature.
Obrigado.
I think also what he said before, I had no time to translate, so I think it was important. So he said, but all the young people from his generation, like indigenous people and also non-indigenous people, but he said, we are all with Raoni, with my grandfather, and we are worried about the destruction of the planet and all over the world. And young peoples are united to protect to protect life and to protect earth and water for life to continue on earth.
Merci, Emilie. Thank you very much. And we want to express our appreciation to the young people from the community. And through Chief Kasik Raoni, we want to present you with an award today, 7 years after the adoption of the Paris Agreement. And we want you to be to receive this award. The award is not only for the chief, but for all the community, and in particular for the young people of the community, because you are the next in line. A moment ago, Tom expressed the fact that we were working for the young people, but we don't have them to wait for them to be old. We have to work now to save the planet, and we will do that with you. Thank you very much.
So yes, it's a great time for to gather people all around the globe, crossing all countries. I do believe that, and I know that Chief Raoni is citizenship of Paris. We have signed the Paris Agreement here, one of the greater agreements globally. And I do think that already Chief Raoni and all of you are citizens of the planet, citizens for humanity, to push line further. And let's turn to all investors, accelerators, to move forward the key technologies, but not only, the bridging piece of technologies and nature-based solution. One of the great pieces we have missed in the civil, or I will say the urban civilization we are. And it's about bridging scientific and technology knowledge with the deep and ancestral knowledge of indigenous culture and people as well. So thank all of you, thanks all my co-chairs, my great Master of Ceremony, Marie-Michèle, thanks all the partners who have joined us, institutional partners, the BRGM, the French Geological Survey, the CNES, the French National Space Agency, the Banque de France, who should be there, but not far from, probably some difficulty according to the traffic today, and all the startups who are here with nominees and very pre-selected great ones, all my co-chair, my partners by the trip, the media support with including Leaders League, and representative from Accelerator come from Japan, very conscious of this very deep and key moment we are. It's a great momentum for us, and I hope it will be also a great momentum and call to action for all of you. See you next for the batch 2023, and I'll let the floor and closing word with my great Master of Ceremony, Marie-Michèle.
So thank you, everyone. I hope you're still here. Otherwise, it's going to be played on replay. This is the second year, so we're going to have a third year next year. So thank you very much. What I would like to stress is that we don't have time. That's one thing, but we do have time to work on such very important subjects. So it took a little bit longer than expected, but this proves that we all need to work on such subjects right now, as all those wonderful people have expressed. Those who are still online, thank you very much for being there. And I would like to finish on something very special, which is I would truly, I know Isabelle has worked a lot, but I would really like to thank you, because you've been working so hard. You don't count your time. And I didn't know him before, and I am impressed how he can just get everybody to work on one subject, you know, convincing everybody to join. And really, if we all are able to do this, convince more and more people, I think we can change the world and make it a better place for everyone. So, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Philippe.
Thanks to all of you. Just to say that we are going to welcome Olympic Games in Paris 2024. It's all about some championship. I will say that the new common discipline any discipline of sport, but the common discipline of everyone is practicing the Paris Agreement. There is no loser, no one leader, no one nominees only. It's the new sport team. Let's play Championship for Climate now.
Okay, thank you very much. Namaste, welcome, bye, au revoir, and so on. And now I know where you're all going to go, in front of your TV. Let the better win, right? Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Bravo.